Sorcerer, pick up Erza at the start. Author. Big Knife. Chapter 151, 7 Dragons. 1. Long shock. The violent vibration sounded. It seemed to be the sound of the ancient giant beast stepping on the ground. Roar. The dragon's roar came from the door of the eclipse. The king's army, the princess, and the others all widened their eyes, their scalps tingling, and they felt shivering. How come? What is that sound, and why did it come from the eclipse gate? What is it? Countless people are in confusion. All the people looked at the door in unison, as if waiting for something. Long. The huge dragon claws appeared, and the stone bricks were shattered when they stepped on the ground. The princess narrowed her eyes and said in horror, the dragon actually came out of the door. Roar. The dragon's roar. The sound wave overturned the soldiers of the king's army in front of him. The ground and nearby buildings were completely shattered by this roar, and it was as dilapidated as the end of the world. Bearing the brunt of the dragon raised its claws and slammed to the ground. The ground cracked in an instant, and several hideous cracks extended into the distance, shattering countless buildings with just one blow. Everyone like Natsu couldn't resist. He fell to the ground in embarrassment, covering his face and looking at the giant dragon. After a dragon came out, another dragon claw stepped out behind him. It was also the body of a giant. Feeling terrifying despair. Another one, 793 inches. What the hell is going on here? He came out of the door again. Why are these dragons here? The soldiers of the king's army were paralyzed on the ground. The power of a dragon was so powerful, and now there are still so many dragons coming out of it. How could this possibly be something they could deal with? In the future, Lucy immediately grabbed the princess' shoulders and asked, how can I close the door? Tell me quickly. The princess swallowed. Countless cold sweat oozes out of his face, and he stiffly raises his arm to point not far away. On the pedestal over there. After hearing the answer, the two Lucy rushed over there, desperately rushing over, ignoring the scars that the dragons caused him. Tears fell from the princess' face, and her body trembled as she said, 10,000 dragons came through this door. Wendy over there was busy asking, Sister Lucy, how did you find out? Lucy rushed over and replied, I didn't find it. But Grandpa Cree has been investigating. Just now, he finally completely passed this door. This is a device that combines the magic of the Book of Zerif and celestial spirit magic. It could have been used to specify time coordinates and move in time and space. But only today is different. That moon interferes with the magic, so the door is out of control, the same way it was 400 years ago. In other words, the era of dragon survival is connected. Lucy's words shocked countless people. The princess was crying with remorse, her body trembling uncontrollably. Others felt a deep sense of despair, especially when they saw the dragons file out. The destructive force made them feel the end of the world. Guild office. All the people stared at the shattered building in the distance. What was that just now? Come yet? Over there at the castle. Those dragons actually appeared in the direction of the castle. Countless people looked at the distance, and the terrifying power made them feel outrageous. The dragon has appeared, so the next thing to do is to start. Dieter looked in the direction of the castle, moved his body and walked over there. Dieter, stay safe. Seeing that Dieter was ready to fight, Erza quickly cared. You too. Dieter waved his hand and came to the eclipse gate in the direction of the castle faster and faster. Looking at the 7 dragons flying in the sky, they also want to fight. Soon came to the side of Natsu and others. It's all about you, Lucy, Yukino. Just when Dieter arrived here, the future rogue also appeared above board with a proud smile on his face. But 7 dragons are enough. To be honest, I can't control 10,000 dragons. Future rogue said. At this time, Mirror Jane, who appeared with Yukino, CFBB, was also alert. What do you mean? The princess said, it was the Lord who told me about the future. The future Lucy is standing in front of the present Lucy, saying, did you come for this from the beginning? Listen to me, you idiots. The future rogue opened his arms and embraced the sky and said recklessly, now, the era of humans is about to end, and from now on will be the era of dragons. Dieter scratched his ears and asked, is the speech over? Can we start typing? The wanton smile on Rogue's face condensed, and he pulled down his whole face and sneered, Dieter, you shouldn't just let me go. I'm not the me I used to be. Isn't it the secret art of manipulating dragons? What is it called? FKG Long Magic. The name is really ugly. It looks like you sing. Dieter shrugged. Future Rogue Love. I don't understand why Dieter knows this kind of magic. It stands to reason that no one knows. It doesn't matter. First of all, let's kill all the wizards on the street. In the future, Rogue said that Dieter actually understood his own magic, but he thought about it and ordered it directly. Those dragons rushed in different directions immediately, ready to eradicate all the mages. Let's get started. Dieter wouldn't care so much, and Rogue's strength in the future would be just that, not enough to make him vigilant, so he was ready to rush over to kill him, etc. At this time, Natsu stepped out and reached out to stop Dieter, who was about to rush over. His fists were raging with flames, and he ordered, this person asked me to come, in order to protect Lucy. Dieter thought for a moment. Taking 2 steps back didn't deny Natsu's request. Seeing this, Natsu immediately rushed towards Rogue, and after a while, The two of them fought on the dragon. 7 dragons. Dragon slaying magic is the most effective attack, so Dieter swept over each dragon. He looked at the emerald dragon next to the eclipse gate, and then looked at Wendy. Mira Jane and Lucy and the 3 cats all looked at Wendy at the same time, and the meaning in those eyes couldn't be clearer. "Come on, Wendy." Dieter patted Wendy's small shoulder and pointed to the emerald dragon in front of him to give hope. Wendy is indeed a dragon slayer, and it's just right to deal with dragons. But Wendy is too young to deal with it. Why don't we go together? I think it's fine. Wendy is a dragon slayer. Each of the 3 cats spoke. They all expressed their thoughts, but they all felt that it was the most appropriate way to let Wendy on at this time. Can I really? Wendy shyly twisted her footsteps and said in a glutinous voice, a little less confident. Chapter 152, The Power Burst, Hurting the Emerald Dragon. Actually, if I can give others the magic of adding dragon power, I can kill this dragon, but it is obvious that the dragon's scales are very hard and have a certain degree of immunity to magic. So general attacks may not work at all. So Wendy is up to you. Dieter regretted. He just wanted to tease Wendy not to let her go alone, facing a dragon. Allah, let's go up together and help Wendy resist this dragon, Mira Jane said hurriedly. She still knew Dieter. However, he still helped to speak in time, and didn't want Dieter to continue to tease Wendy, so as not to be hurt by I will try my best. Wendy took a deep breath, clenched her fists to cheer herself up, took a deep breath and watched the huge emerald dragon in front of her also prepare to fight. Tilda. The emerald dragon Kilkenny's in front of him looked funny at the little guys in front of him, laughing wildly. It's so funny that a small human dares to resist the dragon. Opening the mouth of the blood basin, the exhaled airwave stirred up the gravel on the ground, which is not weak. My magic can defeat dragons, and I'm up. Wendy took a deep breath and rushed towards the emerald dragon very seriously. The small body was in sharp contrast with the huge dragon. Dragon's roar. Taking a deep breath, sucking the surrounding air into her stomach, Wendy let out a little growl. The dragon's breath swept toward the emerald dragon. Boom. Damn, it's human. Dare to resist the great dragon, I will eat you. The emerald dragon was hit and suddenly shouted. The smoke dissipated. The emerald dragon was not in serious trouble. Instead he blew at the few people in front of him. The clothes on both Lucy's body suddenly. Wow, that's great. Dieter sighed. Mira Jane immediately ran over to cover Dieter's eyes and glared at him pretending to be angry. Humans are yummy, but clothes are unpalatable, so I'm going to eat next. Emerald Dragon smiled and grabbed Lucy and prepared to stuff it into his stomach. At this time, Mira Jane immediately transformed. They attacked the Emerald Dragon, trying to rescue Lucy. Peng. Mira Jane's attack was very powerful, but it didn't hurt or reach for the dragon, and continued to stuff Lucy into his mouth. Wendy right now. Mira Jane knew that she could only rely on Wendy's dragon-slaying magic, and immediately called her to attack. Not to be outdone, Wendy used Dragon Slayer magic to attack. Boom. A loud bang. The Emerald Dragon was hit in the neck, and it hurt immediately. Without a word, he threw Lucy out of his hand and grabbed Wendy with a smaller body. Fourth gear, Elastic Man. Dieter knew that this claw would be seriously injured, so he immediately entered the fourth gear. The body changes instantly. The right fist shrunk into the body and catapulted to Wendy's face. Armed color middle. Dirty rubber Great Tape King gun. The arm continued to blow air, and the pattern of the devil fruit on the body became more intense. The shrunken arm was even bigger. Dragon claw attacks. It has a strong bloody smell that makes it hard to breathe. The dragon claws had a sharp sense of tearing. As if to shred all the space, he directly ignored Dieter's unstoppable claws. Come on, let me see how powerful the dragon is. Dieter's body sank, his feet inserted directly into the stone brick once to stabilize his body. His torso was tense, and he twisted his body to hit the dragon's claws. Hit hard with all your might. Dieter's eyes flashed red at the dragon's claw. Boom. The two hoists meet the hoist one together, and the ground will be broken when necessary. The ferocious crack traces climbed all around in an instant. The earth trembled. The shaking of the earth dragon turned over, causing the surrounding buildings, the ground, and the air to tremble. Hoo-hoo. The wind blows. The aftermath of the collision between the two was like a 12-level typhoon, which instantly overturned the surrounding people. A large amount of gravel blasted out like a chamber. Boom boom boom. Those rubble smashed into the ground, embedded in the building, and the surroundings were in a mess. The storm made everyone have no time to watch, either grabbing the surrounding buildings to resist, or being blown by the wind to nowhere. The sonic boom is coming. Countless people looked at the colliding nodes in shock. The storm disappeared. The scene also became clear, and everyone looked towards the center, wanting to see the results. Several deep scratches were spread on the gravel ground. Right in the center, the deep crater with a diameter of more than 10 meters is like a trace left by a meteorite impact, and the scratches extend from the deep crater. For flowers. The end of the scratch is the body of the Emerald Dragon, and the sharp claws that the Jade Dragon swung out had broken a finger, and blood dripped on the ground. Roar. The dragon's roar sounded, and the strong wind blew up again. The Emerald Dragon roared. The mere humans dare to hurt the great Emerald Dragon. You have successfully angered me, kid. Injured. Countless people were shocked, and their faces changed from the initial panic to cloudy. From cloudy doubt to ecstasy. The dragon was successfully wounded. Marvelous. It's too powerful. The strength of a person can be so strong. He was able to injure the dragon. Which finger did he break? It's amazing. Who is this person? My God. The despairing dragon is actually injured by us humans. We have hope and hope to win. Ecstasy. Countless people shed emotionally moved tears, looking at the figure in the middle of the deep pit with incomparable enthusiasm. They admire the 5-body cast to the ground. And the princess opened her eyes and asked curiously, who is he? Which guild's president can actually hurt a dragon? Alucardios, who was next to him, couldn't believe it, but he still replied, it's Dieter, the S-rank mage of the Fairy Tale Guild. This man is so powerful that he can smash a dragon. Shock. Alucardios was knocked out in the dragon's tomb. I originally planned to find trouble with Dieter, but now that he was able to injure the dragon, I immediately gave up the thought in my heart. He thinks that he is powerful, but he will definitely not be the opponent of the dragon. For Dieter no longer dare to look down on or provoke any plans. This kind of terrifying enemy is definitely not someone he can fight against. Mirror Jane et al. Are also quite different. Brother Dieter broke a finger of a dragon, which is more powerful than Dragon Slayer magic. Wendy was also shocked when she saw the dragon's broken claw. To deal with dragons, only dragon slaying magic should be effective, but now he was injured by Dieter, which is incredible. Hey, it's true or false, that's a dragon. Pangzalili also couldn't believe that it was really possible for a human to injure a dragon. He was too thoughtful. Xialulu also panicked. Is Dieter really human? B. Chapter 153, the ability to shake the fruit is powerful, and the breath of the dragon is smashed with one blow. The pit is in the center. Half of Dieter sank into the ground. He sucked in the cold air and shook his hand. The force is mutual, and the hard blow against the dragon is also quite uncomfortable. It stands to reason that he should not be afraid of attacks due to the ability of the rubber fruit. But in fact, it is not that the attack can be ignored. It seems that the magic is so powerful that it can cause damage to him. He heard the words of the people behind him clearly. To be honest, he wasn't very proud, because his nearly full-strength blow only broke one of the dragon's fingers, and the gap seemed a bit too strong. Fortunately, the shock fruit is many times stronger than the rubber fruit. Dieter pulled his body out of the ground. The power of the rubber fruit is limited, but the shaking fruit is really strong, and it should be able to move the dragon. Softer. Human, you succeeded in angering me. The emerald dragon waved its wings, and its body slowly leapt up, bowed its head and opened its mouth, and the rich dragon breath condensed in its mouth. Run. The dragon's breath is about to be released. 793. Going to die. Really going to die. Run away. It's over. The world is really going to perish. Countless soldiers called out in horror. The joy just now was no longer seen, and the dragon breath was different at first glance, and wanted to destroy the world. Now only escape, desperately escape from here. Her Royal Highness, retreat quickly. Others immediately said this, to leave this place of right and wrong. The dragon breath will destroy the city, leaving only death. Dieter, let's run. Mirror Jane also called out immediately. Dieter is very strong, of course she knows, but the terrifying thing of dragon breath is definitely not something ordinary people can resist. This reminded her of the scene of Akira Nokia on Sirius Island. That desperate breath instantly enveloped the whole body. Wendy and the two cats did the same, looking at the dragon flying high. They were also extremely frightened. Dragon breath. The dragon's breath that is enough to destroy an island is really about to appear. Interesting. Dieter stretched out his arms to move his muscles and bones, watching the dragon's breath that was about to roar. You back off. Don't let this dragon spit out the dragon's breath. Otherwise the whole city will be destroyed, Dieter said. Wendy quickly persuaded, Brother Dieter, let's go. The dragon's breath is not something we can handle. It's a Dieter. Even if this dragon is not as good as Akira Nokia, it's definitely not a giant dragon that we can deal with. The most sensible thing is to retreat temporarily. Pangzalili analyzed. Xialulu also said, yeah, let's run away now. Several people were very nervous. The longer the delay, the more dangerous it is, and it is better to flee now. Even temporarily is better than staying. Dieter. Mirror Jane was extremely nervous and wanted to continue persuading. Dieter raised his hand and waved, and replied with a smile. Trust me, you should step back. Mirror Jane hesitated for a moment, but obediently led Wendy back, and came to the back of a broken building to hide. Her eyes locked on Dieter's body, and she was extremely worried. Bring it on. Dieter's fists were covered with a white halo, and the ability to shake the fruit at full magnitude was urged to the extreme. Bruises on face and body. The emerald dragon staring at the sky with extremely solemn eyes. The light blooms. The emerald dragon exhaled a terrifying dragon breath, and the beam charged towards Dieter on the ground with a destructive aura. Break it to me. Dieter roared and blasted his hands into the air. Cracks appear. Countless cracks spread out around the two fists aimed at, and the cracks extended uncontrollably. That moment, the people hiding behind them all looked over at the same time. The dragon's breath seemed to be frozen in an instant. Instead of continuing to cover Dieter, They stopped in front of the crack, as if confronting each other. Taste, rumbling dash. The roar was deafening. The ground on the entire scene sank a lot like a knife, and the broken stone bricks and various buildings exploded in an instant, immediately crushed to shreds. Shockingly, it can be clearly seen in the eyes of everyone. There was a crack in the dragon's breath beam. Not only that, with the appearance of the first crack, more cracks are spread on the dragon's breath beam. Out! The crisp sound of shattering enters the eardrum. When it was necessary, the cracks quickly extended towards the emerald dragon in the air, and the dragon's breath was instantly covered with cracks that could be broken at any time. Sudden. The emerald dragon in the sky is a masterpiece. The flickering wings instantly stiffened, and the body staggered and fell from the air toward the ground, like being hit hard! Exclamation mark. The dragon's breath beam also shattered, turning into magic power and disappearing in front of him. The city that was about to be destroyed was saved by Dieter's blow. Okay, so strong. Isn't this strength a bit too terrifying? Fairy Tail is the #1 guild in Four, and it is such a terrifying existence. It's no wonder that even after 7 years of decline, it can return to its peak. It's so powerful that it's outrageous. Humans can actually do this. I accept it. I can't do it if I don't accept it. You must not offend the power of the annihilation level, the soldiers exclaimed. Everyone looked at Data with numb scalps, and the strength of Data was beyond their imagination. It is also impossible to easily accept that the power of human beings is so strong. One blow shatters the dragon's breath, even wounding the giant dragon. This strength is not at the same level as those players in the competition. It can be so strong. The princess was also stunned. In her opinion, the dragon's breath would definitely destroy the city just now, but it was actually smashed by a magician, and even the dragon was injured. This strength is too terrifying. His eyes were full of curiosity, eager to learn about Data's experience. What made him so powerful to such a terrifying extreme? Golem. Alucardio's was even more cold sweat dripping from his face, and he was countless times more timid towards Data. Frightened. I wish I could slap myself a few times. To even want to take revenge on a guy with such strength afterwards is simply daring. At the same time, he also decided in his heart that when the matter is over, he must not show any disrespect to him in the slightest. And when necessary, he must listen to his words, and he can completely abandon his dignity. Offending such a person will definitely lead to a tragic death. Same. Mirror Jane and a few people are even more pity. Mainly because he was deeply shocked by Dieter's strength, and the power of that blow was entangled in his heart. Impressive. Lucy was kicked out, Happy chased away, and Lucy hadn't left in the future. At this moment, seeing the strength shown by Dieter can be regarded as a complete admiration. When I remember that Dieter said he was the future president of Fairy Tail, I still didn't believe it. But now I completely believe it. Such power. It is impossible not to be the guild leader. Such a powerful existence is definitely a guild leader level existence. Dieter is so powerful. Mirror Jane is also completely confused by 1.1. It was the first time she had seen choose this level of power, and she immediately knew that Dieter could be so powerful. Hard against dragon breath. Is that something that humans can handle? Possibly's hair stood up in horror, and he had a thorough understanding of Dieter. He is so powerful. I originally thought that Gajiel's strength was already very strong, but now, compared with Dieter, it's like a sky and an underground. Possibly sighed. Xialulu also nodded dumbly. Dragon Slayer magic is the best against dragons. Ordinary magic is almost ineffective against dragons, but Dieter's strength can actually do this. I feel like Dieter is better than Grandini. Wendy was also amazed. It was the first time she had seen a human being able to smash the breath of a dragon, and she felt that even Grandini who taught her would not have the ability. Simply awesome. Chapter 154, Overturn the Earth. The most powerful power of the quake fruit. Cool. Dieter let out a sullen breath, looking at the place where the dragon fell. He also retracted his gaze. The power of the dragon is very powerful. Even the dragon's breath is not something that ordinary people can deal with. Fortunately, there is still a little gap compared with Akulyu Nokia, otherwise he might also be injured. Dieter, are you alright? Mirror Jane and the others rushed up behind him, pulled Dieter to look up and down, and breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that he was not injured. Brother Dieter, you are amazing. Wendy also exaggerated in ecstasy, her eyes extremely hot. Pang Shalila and Xialulu's eyes were also quite shocked, and they were stunned by his strength. I'm fine. Dieter smiled and waved his hand. After this blow, he had a clear understanding of his own strength. Although it is still a long way from defeating Xerath and Akuranoka, there is no need to worry about the lack of strength for Tartaros. That dragon should have been injured. Although dragon-slaying magic does damage to dragons, it is still relatively difficult to defeat them. I went elsewhere to see if I could find a solution and couldn't. You guys have a good rest here. See and smell the use of color. Dieter also immediately noticed that the others were in very poor condition. I also know that now is not the time to chat, and we must hurry to support others, otherwise it will be too late to regret it. Okay, you pay attention to safety. Mirror Jane agreed without a word, and the reason she was worried before was because she was afraid that Dieter would be defeated by the dragon. Now that I saw Dieter's strength, I was completely relieved. In the future, Lucy also looked at Dieter affectionately, and silently told him that he must help. Dieter nodded and walked away from here towards a certain location. Abandoned ruins somewhere. Alter slumped on the ground and looked at the grey sky with deep regret in his eyes. I gave up. Didn't kill him ... But that's not the problem. But I actually wanted to kill someone who didn't have any sins. I am extremely arbitrary in trying to take people's lives, and I still haven't changed. What about the witch's sin? My sin can't be eliminated at all. I'm no longer qualified to live. Da. Footsteps were heard not far away. With tears in his eyes, Alter looked in the direction of the sound. What are you talking to yourself about? Dieter sat on the rock, eating some snacks he got from somewhere, watching Alter ask vaguely, with a hint of relief in Alter's voice. He said, I originally wanted to atone for my sins, but I haven't changed at all. I'm still the witch who kills without hesitation. I'm no longer qualified to live. Dieter continued. So what? Alter replied, if sacrificing my life can bring the world back to the way it was, I'm willing to give my life. Clap clap. Dieter kept applauding and nodded in satisfaction. He concluded, so it turns out, sacrifice is everyone's freedom, but I don't think you deserve it. Alter looked at the unique inexplicably, not understanding the meaning of this person's sudden appearance. Dieter got up from the rock. Walking up to Alter, he reached out to hold her chin and lifted her head. His eyes were cold. Your life is not yours. I saved you, so yours is mine. Now it's time for you to repay, Dieter said. Alter's body trembled slightly. Depressed, self-deprecating, really, but the world is about to be destroyed. How do you let me repay? Only by sacrificing the ultimate magic of the Arc of Time that I use can restore the world. Dieter shook his head. Release Alter and turn around to pull away. Reach out and throw. Take off the jacket and throw it to Alter. He took a deep breath with his hands clawed, his eyes very dignified. Then I will stop the world that is about to be destroyed. Raise your hands and grab. As if grabbing the air, an unprecedented power erupted from his body. Anyway, this city is already shabby, so I'll make it even more shabby, and it's all over. La. Dieter jerked his arms. Moment. Alter felt the ground shaking, and it seemed that something particularly terrifying was about to happen. Get up and look over. Immediately, his eyes were filled with horror. See you. The ground of the whole city began to undergo a strange change, and the ground cracked. The ground of the city is cracked with gaps, and the gaps are bottomless, as deep as leading to the abyss. Not only that, the ground of the whole city is no longer flat, and deformed into land with different angles. Countless people were amazed. People in the whole city fell into madness. They grabbed their hair and screamed, watching the apocalypse-like scene paralyzed to the ground in despair. What exactly is going on? Look at the ravines formed by the entire city, and the scene where the ground is lifted up. No matter how hard Makarov tried, he couldn't calm down. The earth cracked. The whole city was completely ruined. Could it be that the dragon did this? Erza held the ground, shaking violently in disbelief at what his eyes saw. This is the end of the world. The rest of the guild also gritted their teeth and looked at the ruined land, sweating coldly. If dragons have this kind of power, they can't beat them at all. No matter how hard you try, you can't do that. At the same time, Gray and other people who were fighting also fell to the ground because of the shaking of the ground. Boom. At the moment when he fell to the ground, a beam of light passed through his face and hit the ground. Suddenly Gray was more than afraid. Touching his face, he said, if it wasn't for the ground, I would have died from the blow just now. He did not know who made the shaking and cracking of the earth, but he knew that this state would save his life in disguise. If it weren't for this situation, he might have been pierced by the beam of light and died in this 793. Not just Gray. Also, Mukau and others were rescued by the sudden deformity of the earth. And at the same time, the huge eclipse gate also cracked open, destroying it directly. The dragons of the whole city and the future people are wrapped in light, and they are about to disappear. Dieter's sighed. The cracking of the earth did not last long, and the deformed ground quickly recovered. I'm so tired. Dieter sighed in relief as he watched the ground recover. Under the perception of seeing and hearing, although the group of people who appeared in danger suffered a little damage, they did not die, and they also shattered the eclipse gate. It's the perfect solution to the crisis. But fortunately there was no trouble. Puff. Dieter fell, but instead of falling to the ground, he was supported. He also felt something very elastic in his head, and when he looked up, Alter's face was in front of him. So it's you. You're so handsome. After seeing the person, Dieter also fainted due to exhaustion. This is the first time he has used all his strength. The power system of the fairy tale world is very high, and the earth is also full of huge magic power. It consumes a lot of power to crack the earth and lift it up with his power. Even if he is very powerful, he has already run out of fuel to achieve this level. It's just a very good situation. Fortunately, it fell into the arms of the beauty. Chapter 155. The little girl does not understand moderation. Eclipse Gate. Looking at the broken door, many people were stunned. The Eclipse Gate was destroyed. Could it be that someone knew our plan and helped me? Her Royal Highness the Princess whispered softly. The future Lucy said, it's unbelievable. It broke the gate made of super magic alloy. She clearly knew. It must be Dieter who caused all this. because only Dieter could have done this. I also admire Dieter's strength even more for being so powerful. What will happen next? Asked the princess. The future Lucy looked down at the light on his body and replied with a smile. The Eclipse Gate is destroyed. The Gate of the Future will not be able to be used. We will not be able to come to this era. It is time to go back. At the same time, she also has some regrets. The Eclipse Gate is broken, so should Dieter also go? Until now she hadn't found out that Dieter was lying. It's all over. Future Lucy closed his eyes, and his tense nerves loosened. A breeze blows on a golden wheat field. Lucy woke up, and looking at the clear sky made her unable to react for a while. Lucy. There was a call from the hillside, and Lucy looked over. I saw where Natsu and the rest of the guild appeared, looking at her with a smile. Natsu ran over, stretched out his hand and smiled and said, "Let's go on an adventure." Moment. Lucy burst into tears. Yeah, the city is in ruins. The destructive power caused by the 7 dragons is not very strong, although it is in a mess. The entire city is destroyed in a violent shock, and no one knows what is going on. Only understand that because the shock destroyed the Eclipse Gate, the dragon and the future people disappeared. Although the city is dilapidated, people are still alive. The carriage carried a group of people walking towards Magnolia. Dieter bro doesn't look very comfortable in the carriage, Lucy asked curiously, watching Dieter lying on Erza's lap. Yes. Erza smiled and stroked his unique hair. She couldn't help but think back to Dieter who took it from Alter's arms, and Alter's words made her wonder what happened. I owe him another life, which I will repay in the future. Erza didn't know what this sentence meant, but she knew that Dieter's change must have something to do with her. Maybe something happened that no one knew about. It feels a little reluctant. That's disgusting. Don't sit on the horse, run back to me. It feels like a long time. Incracas. Gray and others on the carriage also chatted, and these few days really seemed like a long time ago. Magnolia. It's back. They're back. Everyone, come and see. Finally come back. Countless people on the city streets cheered enthusiastically, expressing a warm welcome with passion. People in the city announced, "Everyone, let's welcome the winning guild of the Great Demon Fight," with the warmest applause. Fairy Tail is back in triumph. Wow la la. Applause broke out, and the faces of the residents who looked at them were filled with laughter. The warmest applause to the members of the Fairy Tail Guild. Very noisy. Dieter, who was supported by Mirajane and Erza, straightened his brows, slowly opened his eyes and looked around at the muttering speechless. Dieter, are you awake? Dieter, you have nothing to do. Do you need to go to the hospital to check your body? Both Erza and Mirajane offered their condolences quickly. Dieter smacked his lips, stretched out his arms and hugged the two girls with a smile and replied, "Don't worry, I just used a little too much power. I'll just rest for 2 days, and you all took care of me along the way." "Alo, it's fine," Mirajane replied with a smile. "You're really worried about me for a while." Boom. Erza then smashed his unique head against his armor so hard, Dieter rants. Hoo-hoo. The inhabitants of the city warmly welcomed them, so that they could not chat, but moved forward to enjoy the cheers of the victors. A lot of people. It seems that residents of the cities around Magnolia have also come. The guild members were also pleasantly surprised when they saw the crowd of residents around them. The people around them kept waving at them. He greeted the familiar people with a lot of tongues, and also praised the excellent performance of the players during the competition. The people in the guild are also very honored. Lively greet people and respond to every question. Well, now, I have asked Mr. Magnoliashi to present them with souvenirs. Foremost, she appears on the way home from the guild members. Chairman Makarov smiled embarrassedly. Souvenirs? You don't have to worry so much. Chief Shi guided and said, "Everyone at Fairy Tail, please come this way." Everyone in the guild was very curious about what souvenir Mr. Shi was going to issue, and they even had to go there in person, and this direction was still the previous address of the guild. Soon, everyone came to the original Fairy Tail site. A towering building came into view, and everyone stared at the huge building in front of them with wide-eyed exclamations. "Fairy the Tail is the pride of our city, so we repaired the guild and want to give it to you," Shi Chang announced. Immediately, everyone in the guild has this infinite light in their eyes. The guild has returned to its original state. Natsu was the most excited, raising his hands and cheering enthusiastically. Chairman Makarov held Shi Chang's hand with both hands, and said gratefully, "Shi Chang, you are such a good person." Shi Chang laughed. Where this guild was completed in a few days by the residents of the city. It is a congratulations to you for regaining the first prize of 4, and I hope to make persistent efforts in the future. Of course, Makarov agreed, cheering. I love this city the most. Within the guild, Dieter organizes his fishing gear and prepares to go fishing. Dieter went fishing. Ha ha ha. It's been a long time since I saw Dieter fishing. After all, 7 years have passed in a blink of an eye. Yeah, I've been sealed even if I thought about it, so I can still stay young. Mukau, what you want to say is that when you get old, there will be no girls to chat with you. Ha 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 tilde. Ha 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 tilde. The guild was very lively. The new guild is a great battlefield for its members. So fighting is normal. I haven't fished for a long time, and I don't know how the price of Magnolia's fish is. I hope it doesn't drop too much, otherwise I'll have to work again. Dieter walked outside with his fishing gear. Although the body is still a little tired, but the overall problem is not big. Just relax. Just to go fishing to adjust the mind and body. Incidentally, selling fish to earn some living expenses, so that you don't have to go out and entrust tasks everywhere, and it is Dieter's favorite thing to be at ease. If you want to go fishing, I will accompany you. Erza. Dieter was going out fishing, also said a word and followed. The two quickly came to the fishing spot, and Erza also looked at Dieter as they prepared the tools and seemed to have something to say. What's wrong? Dieter asked, looking over. Erza asked suspiciously, when picking you up, what did Alter say that he owes you another life? What does it mean? What secrets are there between the two of you? She was like a jealous little girl who kept asking questions, desperate to know what Dieter had done. Listening to this, Dieter is a little lost. After hanging the bait with the fishing rod, he threw it in and sat down and said, Alter, the first time we met was on Galuna Island, when she pretended to be Leon's collaborator to trouble us. Treating enemies is generally ruthless, but I spared her life at that time. After hearing the explanation, Erza also suddenly realized, and then asked in a strange tone, you are so soft on women. Do you have any bad ideas? Shock. Dieter's eyes widened. I'm not. I think too much without you. Denied the triple. Dieter's brain quickly revolved. The second time we met was on Sirius Island. She was a member of Grimo I Heart, and I let her go, thinking that her magical future might be useful. It's actually very useful, because with her magic, Natsu and the others can open the second source of magic. Zhanyuo is good. Erza understands after hearing this. It has to be said that Dieter's mercy was indeed a great help to them at that time. The second source of magic created the victory of the great demon fighting martial arts competition. After that, there was the Dragon King Festival. At that time, everyone was useless to the dragon. She planned to use the forbidden magic to restore the time before the eclipse gate was opened. However, I was not optimistic about her at the time, so I advised her to give up the idea of suicide. She said she owes me another life for this reason, Dieter explained. Erza nodded, taking a deep breath. He didn't ask any more questions, but accompanied Dieter on the shore fishing. After a long wait, Erza raised his head sharply and asked, what did you and Mira Jane do when you were alone in the great demon fight? Did you do bad things behind my back, huh? Dieter was speechless, wondering if the tropic jumped a little too fast. Actually not. Dieter bites the bullet and says number. Erza pulled her face and walked towards the city without a word about a unique collar. Follow me to the hotel and do it again when you and Mira Jane do it. No, 3 times. My god, I'm a wounded man. Hee. What is the injury? I'll just take the initiative. God, you little girls don't understand moderation. Chapter 156. One of the 4 heavenly kings of Ishgar. The guild is back on top. Therefore, a large number of commissioned tasks came one after another, and the guild members took the tasks enthusiastically and took action. The originally lively guild was also deserted. Dieter yawned and entered the guild from the hotel outside, looked at the hall where there were few people, and turned to walk on the street. Erza went to work with Wendy after tossing around Dieter. It stands to reason that he should have returned today, but it has nothing to do with Dieter. He has come to his senses. Women are nothing but pink skeletons, and staying away from women is the secret to longevity. Dieter. After awakening, Dieter was about to go shopping, but suddenly he heard someone calling his name, and immediately looked over. Oncoming are Erza, Wendy, Lucy and Xiaolulu. There is a saying that there are 3 women in one play, and a cat is added. One play is not enough for them to sing. You must stay away from them, especially when you enter the empty door. Erza, are you shopping? Dieter forced a smile to say hello. I decided to find an opportunity to leave. It is absolutely impossible to accompany women shopping, especially when there are many women. No, Gray and Natsu went out on a mission and didn't come back for a few days. We're going to check it out. Erza said. The eyes were very expectant, as if waiting for Dieter to say something. An unique indulgence. Looking at the people who were full of anticipation, they also said. Then 793 years. His eyes were getting brighter and he seemed to know that Dieter was going to agree, and he was getting happier. Be careful. Of course Dieter wouldn't follow her face, so she turned around and left immediately after telling them to pay attention to safety. Huh? Suddenly several people were stunned. Or Erza reacted fast enough, hooked him by the neck, and said, it's great. It would be best if you had Dieter with you. What the hell? I didn't promise. I'm going to catch 100 pounds of fish today, Dieter retorted. Erza nodded. I knew that as the guild eldest brother, you are still quite worried about Natsu and Gray, and you are willing to take the initiative to come with us. That's good. We'll go. You are forced. Dieter resisted desperately, but Erza couldn't let him leave, dragged him away. In a mountain range, the forced Dieter and Erza and the others come to the location where Gray and Natsu are doing their quests. A huge monster fell in front of him. So big. This is the monster written in the power of attorney. Looks like they solved it a long time ago. Several people were emotional. At the same time, it's even better. CFBB, strange. The monster has been removed. Why haven't the task been completed and left? What's going on? Xiaolulu, save me. At this time, Happy came out holding a branch and supporting the embarrassed body. "Oh Happy, you haven't eaten in a few days. You look so ugly," Dieter joked. Happy also immediately said the matter again. Then they walked towards where Gray and Natsu were with a few people. Before they could even see it, Gray and Natsu were both facing each other miserably. "Don't mess with me again, you stinking flame." Gray's entire face was swollen, and he yelled at Natsu across from him. "I should have said that, you pervert." Natsu's face was also swollen like a big fat man, and even so, he still did not show weakness. "It's all your fault that you are always in a mess. It's all because you're always dawdling." The two of them started fighting again, and they looked very energetic. After a few people saw it, they also breathed a sigh of relief. "It's still the same. I'm still worried about them." Xialulu over there asked curiously. "Did they fight for 3 days?" Happy said, "They go back and forth, but they eat and sleep normally." Xialulu burst out laughing. Yeah, this way of fighting is really cute." Dieter cupped his forehead. "Step up to stop it. Hello. It's time for you two to stop." When needed, Gray and Natsu immediately turned their heads and shouted, "Shut up." At the same time, he raised his fist and punched Dieter, apparently already red-eyed. It didn't matter who came to stop him. Peng. Dieter rolled his eyes. He raised his hands and squeezed the fists of the two, his eyes filled with malicious intent. "Oh, a fight. I'll accompany you," Dieter said sharply. Gray and Natsu were a little flustered. "How come Dieter is here? Why is he here?" Dieter's mouth twitched. "Come on, two little guys." Rip off tilde. Clap clap. After a random pickup, Gray and Natsu's faces added injuries again, but fortunately they have calmed down. Back to the guild. The members laughed at them unsurprisingly when they learned about the two. "I really can't take the two of you. You are not children anymore." "How interesting." Natsu frowned. "I'll never go to work with him again." Gray didn't show weakness. "Idiot, I can't ask for more." There, Dieter sat at the counter eating Mira Jane's egg fried rice, not interested in their conversation at all. And Mira Jane came from elsewhere, holding several documents in his hand. He greeted President Makarov. "President, I just received an urgent power of attorney." Makarov looked at it, reaching out his hand to take the document in Raj's hand. He checked it and muttered, "After the great demon fighting and martial arts, there has been a lot more power of attorney for appointing a certain magician to complete the work." After reading it, he called out to the two who were still arguing, "Natsu, Gray, this power of attorney is for the two of you again." "Here again." Natsu was speechless, and Gray was reluctant. Lucy suddenly realized, so that's what happened. That's why the two of them went to work together. Erza said to the two of them, "It's rare that someone entrusts the two of you. This time, let me get along well." Makarov looked at the power of attorney again, and immediately widened his eyes when he saw the client. "What's the matter with you, old man?" "I don't want to go with this guy anymore," Natsu said. "The same goes for Gray. Don't touch me. I don't want to." And this time Makarov's expression was quite serious, and he said to the two, "No, you have to go this time. And you must not make any mistakes for me." The name of the client this time is Word-Seeken. He ranks 4th among the 10 holy demons, and is one of the 4 kings of Ishgar. Shock. Everyone in the guild widened their eyes. "What? The client is one of the 10 great demonic paths. What's up? Why would such a powerful person send a power of attorney?" At the same time, Erza is also quite curious. "What is it?" Chapter 157, Eternal Flame. "It's so peaceful here. Blue sky and white clouds, countless pigeons pass by happily from the sky. Hey, the air is so fresh." Lucy stretched his waist comfortably, showing off his proud figure. "The wind is also very comfortable." Erza took a deep breath, reached out and brushed her long red hair, and a fresh scent wafted in the wind. "It feels like we came out for a picnic. So happy." "Yes." Happy and Xialulu take a leisurely walk on the side. "You ate my meat. Who wants to eat your food?" "You put on my clothes first. The color of your hair is too eye-catching. Quickly change it for me." Behind a few people, Gray and Natsu were still arguing. At the back of the line, Dieter took his fishing rod and looked around to find a fishing spot. Hearing Erza and Lucy's words, he couldn't help but complain. "By the way, this commission is for Gray and Natsu, so why do you have to come along?" Erza turned his head. "It's rare to have a chance to meet such a big man." "But I don't want to see Dieter grumbled. However, Erza directly ignored his words, looked at Gray and Natsu who were arguing, and said, "Don't make trouble. We are going to meet a person of high status now." Lucy explained in a timely manner, "We are worried that the two of you are coming here too late, but looking at the situation, the prospect of the mission is bleak. Brother Dieter, the 10 great demons of the Holy Spirit are the 10 best wizards in the continent selected by the council, aren't they?" Wendy asked curiously. Dieter nodded. "That's right. Our president and Diana of the Scales of Snake Princess are both one of the Holy 10. In addition, Jose and Joel of the Phantom Lord have both had this title. In fact, the top 4 people are the great wizards known as the 4 heavenly kings of Ishgar." Wendy wonders. "Ishgar?" Erza explained, "It's the old name of this continent, and it may not be easy to assign Gray and Natsu to such a powerful character." Everyone was very curious. What is the mission of such a character? Arrive. The last Dieter speaks. Everyone looked towards the front. There was a wooden house in the distance. Where is the location? Is this the home of Warad Seekn, who ranks fourth among the 10 great demons? Looking at the simple wooden house, Lucy was curious. Shouldn't such a person live in the most honorable and prosperous city? Slightly different. Pushing in, Erza took the initiative to introduce. Is there anyone at home? We are the Wizards of Fairy Tale. Front. The clothed old man was washing with water. SHH. Don't talk. Grass and trees like silence. After you understand this, close your stinky mouth for me. When asked, Lucy quickly closed his mouth. Several other people also have extremely solemn expressions, and this big man seems to be difficult to speak. Compare. For a moment, the sound of words watering remained in the house. PFFT Warad suddenly laughed. I'm all yours. I'm joking. Grass, flowers and trees like human voices the most. Speechless, several people pulled down their faces and were unable to complain. What is this old man doing? Is he really a big man? How can it grow like a tree? Warad didn't care about everyone's complaints, but warmly welcomed him. You are finally here. The Wizards of Fairy Tale, who are Natsu and Grey. Glancing at everyone, he stretched out his hand to hold up the 2 cats and said, oh, you guys look more like cats than I thought. Happy, Xialulu. After putting the 2 cats down, Warad continued to hum, just kidding, kidding. Wow ha 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 tilde. This old man is really self-sufficient. Lucy groaned. Erza seconded, well, yeah. Warad twisted. Oops, I'm thirsty. He raised the water bottle he had been watering in his hand and poured water into his mouth. Grumble. Erza took a deep breath, interrupted Warad's self-deprecating behavior, and asked, excuse me, but are you Mr. Warad Seekn of the Holy 10 Great Demons? Warad stopped his remorse and admitted, exactly. I am Warad Seekn. Seeing that everyone seemed to want to continue talking, Warad quickly said, just kidding. Everyone is stunned. This old man seems to be too. That's weird. Seeing that everyone continued to ask questions, Warad said quickly, holy down. Lucy and Wendy fell to the ground, their eyes filled with resentment. On the table outside, everyone sat down and waited for Warad to explain the mission. For flowers. Warad really wasn't joking when he got down to business. He said, I have been working on the greening of the desert since I retired, and I use my green magic to prevent the expansion of desertification. To put it nicely, it is charitable activities. In fact, it is just my own interest. So I have been walking in deserts all year round, and not long ago, I found a wonderful village. According to the literature, that village is called the Village of the Sun, and that village has the Eternal Flame as their patron saint. Here flames. Natsu suddenly became more energetic. Eternal Flame? Warad continued. Yes, but the village is now frozen, whether it was a natural or man-made disaster. People, animals, plants, buildings, rivers, and even the eternal flames that guard the village were frozen. People say different. Warad continued. Although it is not clear what happened to the village, the villagers who were frozen in ice are still alive. What? Frozen people are still alive? What happened? Warad said. The villagers are still alive, but they are frozen in ice and I can't ignore them. I hope you can save the village. That's my mission. After listening to the commission, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Natsu responded, so it is. Then things will be easy. Just melt the ice with my flames. Then I shouldn't be needed, Grey said. Warad, however, shook his head. No, that's no ordinary ice, and your strength is indispensable. At this time Erza wondered, please forgive me, Mr. Warad is such a powerful wizard as you, this matter should be solved by your own power. Looks like you guys have misunderstood. Warad said, even the Holy 10 Great Demons are not omnipotent, we are only 10 people who have been arbitrarily assessed by the council. There are countless mages who are stronger than me on this continent, and I am just a small existence outside this continent. Said here. Warad looked at Dieter, who had been silent, and said, for example, this little friend, I feel that he is very powerful. Erza, Lucy and others all looked at Dieter. Second. Chapter 158. Nature Department Middle. Burning Fruit Ability. The client, Dieter, was a little stunned. Why was the old man teasing him? But seeing everyone around him looking at him, he was a little speechless. Reaching out and scratching his hair, he said modestly, Mr. Warad likes it. I'm just a small character. Warad laughed. No longer obsessed with this topic. Actually, I know almost nothing about attack magic. If the young people are equal to the force, I have no confidence that I can win. Erza wanted to say something more, and Warad shook his head. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Those who complement each other's strengths and weaknesses are companions, and in other words, the guild. Dieter and the others jumped to their feet. Involuntarily put on a knowing smile. We've accepted this request. By the way, where is the village? Natsu asked. Warad replied. The village is about 2 kilometers south of here. It's really far. 793. Warad got up, pointed to a spot and said, don't worry, let me help you this way to the village. You all stand there and don't forget to take your luggage. Everyone doubts. Once in position, Warad said, turn right. People turn around. Dieter rolled his eyes to keep up, and twisted happy in the wrong direction. Just kidding tilde. Suddenly everyone rolled their eyes again. Warad's body was surging with magic, and he was chanting an unknown spell in his mouth. A tree grew on the ground, and it was visible to the naked eye that it dragged the crowd up and became bigger and bigger. Gah! The branches grew extremely fast, rushing towards the direction of the village. Impressive. The tree is moving. It's amazing. It's like a means of transportation. Dieter yawned. I have to say that some magic is really very showy, and the visual sense is simply bursting. It would be great if he could also magic. Village arrives. Everyone jumped down and saw the village not far ahead. The ground is frozen, and the range is a bit large. Dieter looked at the ground. The village in front of him was a little far away. From this, it could be seen that Gray's father, the Ice Demon's lair, was still very powerful. Go ahead. When I came to the village, I saw a piece of snow-white ice crystals. Whether it's buildings or anything else, it's really frozen, Lucy said. Wendy affirmed, something must have happened here. According to what Mr. Ward said, the people in the village should have been frozen too, but they don't seem to see anyone. Erza wondered. The crowd moved on. Soon they saw a huge soul, and the group looked up. So big. Seeing that giant-like powerful ice sculpture suddenly exclaimed, "Is this the village of giants?" Natsu looked at the tall and strong ice sculpture in amazement. He didn't expect the people in this village to be so huge. Erza was surprised. I didn't think there would be such a huge person in the world. It's amazing. Even the dog is huge, Wendy said, pointing to an animal that was significantly lower. Anyway, we have to rescue them as soon as possible. Natsu took off his luggage, set his hands on fire, and placed them on the huge statue. Look at me melting the ice with flames. However, Natsu kept raising the temperature, but still couldn't melt the ice even a little bit. Gray reached out and put his hand on the ice, feeling the strange ice and saying, "The tree grandpa said that this is not ordinary ice," and sure enough, I felt a magic power that I had never felt before. Can't you melt the ice with your magic? Erza asked. At this time, there are enemies. Dieter turned his head to look at several figures that appeared on the cliff. Erza and the others immediately looked over vigilantly. Who? Seeing the three figures that appeared, they questioned directly. On the cliff, several people directly introduced. Treasure Hunter Guild. The Labyrinth of Wind Spirits. Ding. Signing into Eternal Flame is successful. Congratulations to the owner for getting a chance to draw a lottery. The probability of this lottery draw is 78% for nature, 21% for superhuman, 1% for animal. Whether to draw a lottery or not. The voice of the system assistant came through Dieter's mind. To Dieter's surprise, to be honest, at this stage, he has given up hope for these unimportant plots. After all, the scale of the subsequent episodes is quite large, and the matter of this eternal flame is not too important, but I didn't expect to be able to sign in and get a lottery chance. Pick it up, although it is unexpected. He is still very concerned about strengthening his strength. Looking at the probability of this lottery draw is also a little surprising. After all, the ability of the natural system is still very strong, especially in terms of elementalization. It is really good. Ding. Congratulations to the master for winning the nature system burning fruit ability. The upper limit of this ability is weaker than that of the shaking fruit, and it cannot be upgraded or passively transformed into an element. The words in his head confused Dieter. But if you ask further, you will soon know what these words mean. That is to say, even if the burning fruit is upgraded to full level, it is still weaker than the shock fruit of the same full level. Therefore, for convenience, the system does not directly start the upgrade process, and directly gives him the full-level burning fruit ability. Then, wouldn't all the abilities I obtain in the future be directly maxed out? After all, there is no fruit stronger than the shaking fruit, Dieter asked in his heart. The system assistant, little cutie, replied, it's not a kiss. For example, the fluttering fruit, the wind fruit, the giant Buddha of the magical beast, the fish of the magical beast, the door fruit and other space and time fruits, all of which are not as shocking after full level. The shock fruit is weak. Dieter came to a realization. I was a little surprised when I saw Fengfing fruit and Dorman fruit, but on second thought it seems to make sense, especially the door fruit. Maybe it can open the door to the world after reaching the full level, and it is not good to go to other worlds. All right, Dieter stopped thinking about it after soothing himself. Open your eyes and feel the constant flame power in your body. I can't help but want to try my own flame to melt these ices. According to the legend, there is a devil in every devil fruit. So will I be restrained by the Devil Destroyer or killed by the 1.1? After all, there are 3 demons in my body right now. Dieter was a little worried. The ice that swept across the ground, endured the idea of moving, and looked back at the members of the Treasure Hunt Guild. Sniff. At this time, Natsu approached slowly, smelling Dieter's face, looking very strange. Lucy, come and take care of your man. He's a little off right now. Sensing Natsu's anomaly, Dieter immediately understood what he was thinking, and he was probably attracted by the power of the flames in his body. Call Lucy immediately regardless of their conversation. What the hell? Natsu is not my man. Lucy complained, ran over and grabbed Natsu and asked, what are you doing? Everyone else looked over. Natsu scratched his hair in distress and said, I feel like Dieter has a weird smell just now. I really want to eat it. Chapter 159, turned into a mediocre Erza. Fierce. Dieter was powerless to complain. Burning fruit is not only possible to be restrained by the demon slayer, but also by Gray's ice and Natsu's fire-eating ability. No wonder there is no need to upgrade. He doesn't even want such a troublesome ability to be self-sufficient. Lucy, I think you should guide Natsu in the right direction. He doesn't respond when he sees your body, which is enough to show that something is wrong with him, Dieter complained. Lucy scratched his hair and retorted, "What? Why do you want me to guide? And Natsu, why are you staring at brother Dieter?" Natsu also wanted to get closer to Dieter to find out what was going on. Seeing this, Unique immediately ran elsewhere. Over there, Erza and Wendy looked at the cliff again, and were still arguing with the Treasure Hunt Guild. The eternal flame is a dream flame that will not be extinguished for hundreds of years. Among our treasure hunters guild, it is a super treasure of super S grade. But the giants guarding the village are too much in the way. We can't get close to the treasure. For some reason, the giants were all frozen in a flash. So now is a great time to get the eternal flame. The three people in the labyrinth of Feng 25 introduced the greed that could not be hidden in their eyes. Wendy said immediately, "But I heard that the flame is the patron saint of the village and is very important to the villagers." Lucy over the grabbed Natsu, who was chasing Dieter, with both hands, looked at the three of them with difficulty, and said, "If you take it privately, you will become a thief." The three people in the labyrinth of the wind spirit looked at each other, whispering, arguing over what Wendy and Lucy said. Chu Kao quickly, "You mean to say that the treasure hunters guild shouldn't loot treasure? Treasure was robbed. That can only be super blame themselves. Long. It can't go on like this. We have to get the treasure before the mages come to make trouble. Ooh, let's go." Boom. After complaining, the three immediately turned around and rushed out, leaving Erza et al. Messy in the wind. Gray couldn't help but say, "They probably don't know that even the eternal flame is frozen." Erza nodded, turning to look at Dieter who is running behind him, and Lucy who is chasing and pulling Natsu skating behind him. Dieter runs a lap in front of a few people. He couldn't help but said, "The treasure hunters guild is still a bit capable. Since they dare to come, it means that they probably know that the eternal flame is frozen. And since it's a treasure hunting guild, it's normal to have moondrops. If you really want them to continue, you might be able to steal it." "What?" Gray was startled. Asha and others were also a little surprised, and at the same time their brains were spinning rapidly. "That's right. They probably have moondrops, and as long as we have that thing, the people of this village can be rescued." Erza agreed. A time. Everyone looked at each other and thought of the most portable plan. "Grab!" Gray and Erza said in unison, and without a word, rushed towards the three of Feng Jing's labyrinth. So fast? Dieter was speechless, and the corners of his mouth twitched when he looked at Natsu who was still chasing after him. "Run away, Lucy, look after your man." Lucy was frantic, and it was useless to argue. Can only desperately pull Natsu's clothes, let him not to chase. But Natsu seems to think this is very interesting, and continues to chase with Lucy. That's it. The group chased out. Soon, Erza and Dieter reappear in the village. It's really difficult. Dieter was speechless and followed Erza to look at the huge group of statues in front of him. "Well, I don't know why Natsu has been chasing you, but that's fine. Let them go after the treasure hunter guild." Erza nodded. Dieter shrugged, raised his palms, and instantly gasped, because of the flames. Cough. Erza said different, looking at Dieter a little surprised. "When did you learn fire magic?" "Since I joined the guild, I have often read magic books, but I just learned the magic of fire, so the breath leaked a little, and Natsu would have the idea of eating me." Dieter's random explanation. After hearing what Erza said, he looked at the ice sculpture in front of him and said, "I'm still a little concerned. The giants are all pointing in the same direction with their weapons. What the hell happened in this village before it was frozen? And can a drop of the moon really melt the ice in the whole village?" Dieter said, "It's very simple. If there is a serious danger that is enough to destroy everything, I will keep you behind me. Therefore, these giants must be guarding the eternal flame, and they can find the eternal flame as long as they walk in the direction they are facing away from." Immediately, Erza's eyes widened. Looking at Dieter with joy, he said excitedly, "Yes, as long as you go over there, you will definitely be able to find the eternal flame, and maybe there will be a way to lift these ice blocks at that time." After he finished speaking, he turned around and rushed behind the giants. Dieter, on the other hand, froze in place. He took a deep breath and complained, "What are you thinking of at this time is a fire? Shouldn't you say a couple of love words while no one is there?" "Shake your head." Dieter licked his lips and slowly followed Erza's footsteps. In the distance is a mountain. Erza quickly came to the top of the mountain, and sighed when he looked at the empty place. It really wasn't that simple. "What?" Clap clap clap. Sudden, Erza's armor fell to the ground. She was shocked, and she was also a little flustered after looking at the figure reflected by the ice sculpture next to her. 810, what's going on here? Looking at the child reflected in the ice sculpture, Erza said, "I've become a child." She couldn't believe it, and immediately checked the condition of her body. After reading it, she was stunned. Whether it's the peaks of this ice sculpture or anything else, it's gone. She was completely reduced to her childhood condition from the inside out. What exactly is going on? Erza was really speechless, reached out and took off the armor on his arm, and murmured, "Is there any armor that fits this body type?" "No." Compared to this, stab tilde. Just as he was talking, his body slammed, suddenly rolled from the cliff to the ground, snapped. He suddenly fell to the ground and struggled to stand up. Erza raised his eyebrows. "I can't control physical activities smoothly. Is it because the memory of physical activities in the brain does not match the body shape?" Touching his chin, Erza suddenly thought of what might happen. Wendy calls herself a sister. Natsu wants to compete with her and bully her weak state. The bottom line is that Dieter probably doesn't like her smaller, unremarkable. I have to find a way to restore it to its original state after being killed. Erza goes crazy. That's why Dieter isn't here now. If he were there, not only would he not dislike it, but he would be quite happy. Chapter 160, Getting Smaller. Erza is so cute. Think. After getting up, Erza kept getting acquainted with the smaller body right there. Drive magic to summon a weapon. Clatter. A weapon was summoned, and Erza was sweating and muttering, "Ha, magic can be used." But the speed of changing clothes has slowed down. The consumption of magic power is increasing, the physical ability is significantly reduced, and the feet are so cold! She no longer dared to imagine that the dignified fairy queen would be very embarrassed to be seen by the rest of the guild with this magic. The fairy queen also has such unbearable times. Someone was talking behind him. Erza turned her head to look. "Minerva, why are you here?" Minerva said, "I changed guilds. This is my first mission, and I didn't expect to meet you." Erza looked at Minerva's waist badge, immediately exclaimed, "That sign is the Eye of the Dream Demon." The Dark Guild? Liang Tianyue was not surprised by Erza's reaction and replied with a smile, "The little girl wants to rule the strongest guild, and it doesn't matter if the white or the underworld is. What the little girl likes is to take all the scenery from the world of the strong." Erza said with a cold face, "Is the Eye of the Dream Demon the strongest guild? This kind of guild is just a stepping stone, and the little girl has to go higher." Minerva said. Erza scolded, holding weapons in both hands, "Have you abandoned your Majesty's pride, Minerva?" She couldn't agree with Erza's claims. Tanzu stopped the tropic from continuing. "This is the end of the chat, let's continue the battle. But what can you do with your current appearance?" Immediately, Erza has figured out who is responsible for her situation. Seemingly aware of what Erza was thinking, Minerva explained, It's because of my companion's magic, and there's a lot of interesting magic in the underworld." Erza was furious. "Looks like you didn't intend to have a decent fight with me." Minerva wasn't angry either. Dao has a gangster style of play, it's just a different way of thinking. You have to be mentally prepared. This is not a big devil fighting and martial arts, but a life and death fight. Damn it. Erza doesn't care so much, even if his body gets smaller. He doesn't show weakness. Waving the weapon in his hand, he flew towards Minerva. Hit the ground hard. The body leaps into the air. Sudden. His body stopped moving in the air, and someone was grabbing him from behind. "Wow, Smaller Erza is so cute." Dieter hugged Erza like a child and looked at her with immense joy. "Let me go." Erza was a little stunned, noticing that the current posture really looks like an adult holding a child. He said quickly with a blushing face, No, you are so cute like this." Dieter certainly wouldn't agree. Ignoring Erza, he looked at Minerva in front of him and said, "What kind of magic is this magic? I must study it well when I go back." Dieter. Minerva had a gloomy face. To say who she hated the most, it would definitely be Dieter, who had cast a considerable shadow on her back then during the Great Demon Fighting Martial Arts competition. "Are you asking for defeat again?" Dieter raised his eyebrows, and without letting go of Erza in his arms, he raised his fist and threw it out. The quaking fruit is in full swing. In an instant, the cracks spread and hit Minerva. "Do you think the little girl will directly confront you? Your lack of long-range attack is the biggest drawback." Minerva stepped back immediately. He stopped after getting far enough away from Dieter. Cut. Dieter was disdainful, and the raging flames in his body suddenly boiled. Fire punch. The fist was wrapped in flames, and the surging flame fist roared towards Minerva. Flames are like pillars. How can it be? Minerva didn't expect Dieter to learn fire magic after not seeing him for a few days, and immediately knew that long-range attacks would be ineffective. Watching the roaring flames wave to block it. "I'm thinking about what to do." Saddle. Just as Dieter was about to continue his attack, he felt Erza in his arms sank suddenly, and he returned to his original state. Recovered. "Let me go." Seeing this moment, Erza broke free from Dieter, and said that he didn't want to be too intimate with him outside. What a pity." Dieter pouted. "There is such a powerful magic, but it turns out to be useless. It's too embarrassing to recover so quickly." Ming Ove. Just as I was thinking about it, a harsh sound poured into my eardrums, enveloped by a mysterious power. Dieter felt the power in his body receding. After a while, he turned into a child like that, and he was stunned. What the hell? Dieter looked at the clothes on his body and was speechless. Although the strength in his body did not decrease much, the child's body was still somewhat inconvenient. It's getting smaller, and Minerva is getting smaller too. What the hell is going on? Erza had just put on the armor and turned into a little girl again, and Dieter, who looked at Zengta, noticed that Minerva on the opposite side had also turned into a child. Grandma's. Dieter was powerless to complain. Bright, mobilizing the power in his body. He moved instantly and came to Minerva, who had become smaller, and waved his fist. Earthquake, hum. Before Jiangshi could react, Minerva was punched by Dieter. That force poured into the body instantly, and the internal organs were shocked. PFFT. A mouthful of blood spewed out. Minerva's eyes were bloodshot, and she fell to the ground, losing the strength to resist. She saw Dieter in front of her and felt a deep sense of despair. Once again defeated so easily. How powerful is this guy? Why is it that in her hands, with money, and Ben after only a few rounds, he will be defeated by a few tricks every time? She lay powerlessly on the ground, looking at the sky with humiliation flashing in her eyes. Dieter didn't feel any surprise, although his body became smaller, it didn't matter. The power of degeneration magic did not act on him much, and the power in the body was not degenerated to a too weak state. So it was good luck that his punch didn't kill Minerva. It didn't take long for her to become smaller, and it would soon return to her adult appearance. Seeing that Minerva hadn't fallen yet, he pouted and didn't go to make up the knife. After all, Erza is still here, and it would be too cruel to kill someone. Pitiful. Shaking his head, Dieter walked back to Erza. As for what to do with Minerva, I'll leave it to Erza. The latter stepped forward, standing in front of Minerva not knowing what to say. Chapter 161. So interesting. Gray looking for Dad and Natsu looking for End. At the foot of the mountain, Natsu came down the mountain with Wendy and Lucy. At the same time, Gray also ran from behind, and was chasing after a huge bird one-eyed monster. Just knock it down, Gray. Seeing Gray's embarrassed appearance, Natsu was speechless. This is not the time to waste magic. Maybe I can melt the ice in this village, Gray said. All of a sudden, everyone was surprised. Really? Raventail's flair was instantly hilarious. Big crows? Why is that guy here? Gray asked. Not wanting to explain, Natsu asked again. Just leave it alone. You can really make the ice melt? Gray nodded. Not entirely sure, but I'll try my best. Okay. In that case, leave that bird to me. Natsu agreed. Immediately rushed to the one-eyed strange bird behind Gray, and let Gray immediately thaw the entire frozen mountain. Look at the huge mountain, Gray murmured to Lucy and said, I don't know what the ice covering the village is, so I can't control it and melt it, but it can communicate with my body. Maybe because we are both ice properties. After hearing 810 Gray's words, Lucy and the others didn't understand it very well, but they didn't understand it. The body is connected to the magic of ice. What about connectivity? Gray patted the huge mountain with both hands, urging the magic of the ice in his body. Use the magic of ice modeling. Shape the ice of this village into the shape I want. Impressive. Flare was surprised, looking nervously at Gray as if expecting. I don't know if it will work, so I will use it on giants later. Let me try to melt this mountain. Eternal flame, Gray said. The magic is venting wildly. The light enveloped the entire mountain, exuding a mysterious light. What happened? At the top of the mountain, as if he noticed the appearance of the mountain under his feet, Erza was immediately alert, fearing that it was Minerva's accomplices. It should be Gray. They have found a solution to the ice sculpture problem, Dieter said. Reaching out and grabbing Erza, they quickly jumped into the air, preventing the iceberg from disappearing and catching them by surprise. What? In a blink, the mountain body at the foot disappeared instantly, and the huge iceberg seemed to have never appeared. Disappear directly in front of the eyes. Boom 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 dash. Natsu's battle with Cyclops comes into view. His set of combos smashed the strange bird into the altar of eternal flame on the ground without being able to fight back. The flame burned instantly. It was the firework of eternal flame. The guardian deity of the Sun Village was completely awakened. Let's go over to that. Minerva's gone, Dieter said. Erza frowned slightly and agreed after seeing that there was indeed no trace of Minerva on the ground. The two fell from the air and came to Lucy and the others. I haven't seen you for 400 years, son of Igna. That eternal flame turned into a flame dragon, exuding a powerful breath and speaking. That guy is one of the dragons that came through the eclipse gate. Erza was surprised. Dieter touched his chin and analyzed. In a sense, this dragon has known us for more than 400 years. The crowd nodded. Natsu snickered, and was quite happy when he recalled those years. You're still alive, uncle. Alive? The flame dragon denied. No, not so. Wendy over there immediately explained. This is the figure that appears after I use magic to materialize my soul. Its consciousness should be affected by these ices, so the memory is in a state of confusion, Dieter replied. Wendy nodded. The original remaining will is the opposite of a strong will. It is a very weak magic power. Under the effect of ice magic, it is frozen for a long time, resulting in partial memory damage. Ice. It's ice. That man turned the world into ice with just one person. The flame dragon intermittently recalled what happened in the village. These words made a group of people very curious, wondering what kind of person could freeze the entire village. CFBB, alone for so long. The flame dragon continued. That man mistook me for a demon. In order to destroy me, he froze the entire village. He is the magician of exorcism, the demon slayer. Destroy evil. It's not killing dragons, it's not killing gods, It's killing demons? Is it magic to defeat demons? The whole group is extremely curious. The world is full of wonders, and after destroying the gods and dragons, a new method of destroying demons appeared again. Gray suddenly realized. No wonder it was able to work on that guy. It turned out to be the ice magic against demons. Ice Demon Slayer. Where is he holy? The Ice Demon Slayer wizard made Gray very concerned and eagerly wanted to get back to who he was. Dieter looked away at him, mocking in his heart that it was your dad. Of course, he didn't have to say it now, because then it wouldn't be interesting. At this point Flare stepped forward. You are the guardian god of this village, the flame of giants. I beg you to gift this village light again. Please save this village. Please, Lord Patronus. Flare fell to his knees sincerely. The flame dragon froze for a few seconds. I remember. I am the creator of the village of Atlas Flame. The misfortune of my village is the sorrow of my pain village, and it is my tears. With the last light of my soul, save this village with the flame of the son of Igna. Hoo. The flames were burning. The unprecedented heat made everyone present feel a strong heat wave. In no time or three, he was sweating all over his body. Sweat soaks the clothes. It was as embarrassing as falling into a scalding river. When the flame dragon was about to disappear, he finally said, I remembered, the most ferocious and evil demon in the Book of Zerafend. Igna failed to destroy and 400 years ago. Disappear. At the same time, the giants in the village also returned to their original state. Wendy was a little lost. Atlas Flames has completely disappeared. Lucy comforted her, and at the same time sighed. A trace of soul remaining in this world can release such amazing power. Over there, Natsu was very distressed. Touching his head, he muttered, Igonal tried to destroy the demon end. This is the first time I've heard of it. Over there, Gray was also curious about the mysterious Ice Demon Slayer. Both were quite confused. So interesting. Dieter couldn't help but cheer up when he saw this scene. One of the two wanted to know the mysterious way to destroy demons, and the other was obsessed with End, which made Dieter want to reveal it to them. If they knew, the mysterious wizard was their father, and the strongest demon End was themselves. It must be very interesting after such a result. Okay, the commission has been completed. We should return. Erza clapped her hands to wake up Natsu and Gray, who were still struggling, and gave orders to everyone. Chapter 162, Let's Go to War. And Tartaros. That night, a group of people and the giants drank, sang, and frolicked until dawn. Almost forgot the ominous words I heard that day. Nightmare I, Minerva, Demon Slayer, Demon from the Book of Jel, and Tartaros. After leaving the village of giants, Dieter and the others went to World to report for work, and only returned to the guild after they were done. Inside the fairy tale guild. Myra, have a drink. Did you wink at listener just now? Look, what a strange bug. It should be fine to touch it. Lively as always. Groups of 3 or 5 were drinking or chatting, and they were looking for something. Minerva, the eldest lady of the sword-biting tiger, joined the Dark Guild. Although it was repaired, the possibility of reforming is very small, Dieter said. Makarov sighed. HMPH, what a stupid girl. Erza added, her father appears to be the ex-chairman of the sword-bite tiger, and his whereabouts are unknown. It is not ruled out that her father will also become a member of the Dark Guild, so be careful when you encounter it in the future. Dieter stretched out his arm, grabbed a handful of bread that Juvia had made for Gray himself, and took it back and swallowed it, reminding the president and Erza. Juvia was eaten by other men, but brother Dieter is handsome, Juvia said. Gray was speechless, but still pick up a piece of bread and eat it. It seems to comfort Juvia. On the other side, Natsu and Lucy and Wendy pester Levy to find out about End. End, although it's not written in detail, is said to be a demon who can't even be compared to Lalabhai and Dalionla. Levy pointed to the book and said. Lucy was a little worried. Does that mean he's the strongest demon in the Book of Zeraf? Scary, Wendy said. Dieter's head stretched out from the counter at this moment, wrapped around Lucy's body like a snake, and looked at the book in Levy's hand. Timely answer, it was the demons created by Zeraf, and the method of summoning them is said to be recorded in a book. Lucy pulled the unique body of Lael's upper body and complained, Brother Dieter, your magic is really a bit strange. In other words, as long as there is that book, the demon of the Book of Zeraf can be summoned. Natsu touched his chin and said, Tartaros probably has the demon of that end, and Igunil wants to destroy that end. Well, I seem to understand a little bit. Several people were very surprised, but Natsu, who was very nervous, would actually use his brain. I'm going to kill Tartaros, Natsu said immediately. Gagil popped out and said in unanimous approval, yes. Suddenly Lucy complained, I don't understand at all. Besides, Tartaros is too mysterious. You say you want to kill it, but even the council doesn't know the location of their guild, and they don't know what kind of people they are. Dieter replied with a smile. The underworld, the name reminds people of hell. Maybe Tartaros is made up of demons. Dumbfounded. Everyone could not believe this fact. After all, this is indeed a bit too much. How could it be all demons? Dieter didn't say anything else, and retracted his stretched neck to continue stealing Juvia's bread. Peng. Sudden. Jed rushed in from outside with the newspaper. Not good. Big news. Everyone's noise stopped. Jed propped his knees and panted, watching the guild members say with trembling voices. The council was wiped out by a member of Tartaros, and the whole army was wiped out. Shock. Everyone in the guild held their breath, extremely silent. What? The Senate was destroyed by Tartaros of the Dark Guild. How is this possible? Is Tartaros that strong? There are still people who can break into a place like the Senate and massacre everyone. Impossible. Everyone was clamoring. This news was harder than heaven for them. Macau swallowed. The voice trembled and said, "Is Tartaros so strong? Shouldn't it be? And the council will be destroyed by one person." Countless soldiers and 9 powerful senators were killed. Fankaba didn't want to believe it. This result was really beyond their expectations. The people in the guild did not speak, and they suddenly felt an unprecedented difficulty. If this is true, the strength of Tartaros, the Dark Guild, is probably beyond imagination. Wow. However, the amazing news has not stopped. Ask for flowers. At this time, a nurse from Magnolia Hospital rushed into the guild, calling to Makarov. "President Makarov, Lagosas of your guild and his thunder gods have been seriously injured and are currently receiving treatment in the hospital." Boom. The news was like a thunderclap. In an instant, Makarov rushed out and ran in the direction of the hospital. Natsu et al. Followed. Most of the people in the guild left the guild and rushed towards the hospital. Dieter sighed and shook his head. Walk at the back and help temporarily close the gate of the guild. Also came to the hospital. Polyuzuka. "What's wrong with Lagosas? Are you alright?" Makarov ran over first, and Borusika, who saw the guild pharmacist, immediately asked in a panic. Poloshika replied, "They are still alive, however, severely damaged by the magic barrier particles. This is originally a highly toxic, ingested a very small amount can be life-threatening, and it is not known whether they will fully recover. Especially Lagosas, the pollution in his body is quite serious, and it is a miracle to be alive." Panic erupted in the guild. All the people who heard Belusika's words also became shrewd and couldn't believe this fact. Lagosas almost died. Fried on the bed looked at it with difficulty, and said in a painful voice, "Lagosas saved the whole city. If it weren't for him, the city would have been lost." Makarov calmly reassured, "I know, you have worked hard to bring everyone back." But his calm voice was filled with unending anger. Soon, from Fried's mouth, he also learned who the person who attacked them was. "Tartaros. I didn't expect that this group of people from the Dark Guild would do such a thing. Can't forgive, it's too much." Anger filled the hearts of everyone in the guild. If it is the strength of the strange and thrilling Tartaros just now, so now there is only the idea of revenge for Lagosas in everyone's heart. Father. Natsu clenched his fists tightly, his forehead and arms covered with thick and sinister blue veins. "Let's go to war." Second. Chapter 163. Start the action. Fairy Tale vs Tartaros. Go to war. Come on. I'm going to kill Tartaros in pieces. Within the guild, all members returned from the hospital to discuss the incident in the guild. Natsu is the most impulsive, shouting and shouting to start a war with Tartaros. He kept saying that he would kill Tartaros 7 in and 7 out. "Natsu, calm down. Everyone is in the same mood. Let go of me. FK off. Be careful, I beat you." "You already beat me." Several guild members rushed forward to hold down Natsu, who was about to go out to fight, to stop him. "My comrades have been attacked. How can I just sit back and ignore it?" "My lord, let's attack them now," Natsu called out. Makarov's tone is heavy. "I have no objection to this. But we have too little information. We don't know where the Tartaros are, and even the Senate doesn't know where their headquarters is," Erza added. Everyone sighed sadly. "That's right, Natsu. We don't even know the enemy's location. How do we charge this? Just ask other Dark Guilds. Where are the other Dark Guild headquarters?" No clue at all. Everyone in the guild also wanted to help with revenge, but at the moment it was not clear what the other party's goal was. "It's impossible to be bored and deliberately kill people, right?" "Dieter, what do you think?" Makarov asked. Others are locked to Dieter. They all know that Dieter is very capable, and it seems that they often know some questions that others do not understand. Dieter replied, "The only thing I know now is that their target is the deputies, and both current and former are their first choice. So just go to the former senator's house and they'll find the door on their own and can pry any clues about Tartaros out of their mouths." Everyone nodded their heads and felt reasonable. At this time, Macau shook his head. However, the address of the former commentator is confidential and no one knows. "Why? If someone knows the address, there will be bad people who will take revenge." "There's nothing you can do, is it?" However, Dieter shook his head again. "That's not necessarily, as far as I know, a famous playboy celestial spirit, but a junior who has soaked in a certain hospital, seems to be called." Before Dieter could say his name, Loki suddenly jumped out of the celestial spirit world and hurriedly covered his mouth to stop him from speaking. Immediately, Loki was locked by the eyes of countless people. There are resentment, envy, and curiosity in these eyes. Cough cough. Loki cleared his throat and admitted, "I do know the addresses of several members, but not all of them." Soon Loki revealed the address and identity. Immediately someone brought the map and marked the address of the MP. According to Loki's intelligence, we know the positions of 4 former senators. First, we split up to their location to protect them from Tartaros. At the same time, try to arrest the members and ask for Tartaros' target and headquarters address. If possible, It is best to kill people and not give the other party a chance to inform them. Dieter pointed to a few specific locations on the map, also directly named and separated several teams. Miss Belusica said at this time, if you encounter the person who attacked Lagosas, the one who used the magic barrier particle, take some blood samples while paying attention to safety, and maybe you can use it to treat Lagosas. They're vaccines. Everyone understands. Seeing that the tactics have been arranged, Makarov announced to the guild members, the enemy is Tartaros. It cohabits with the Racine Says and Grimo Heartblum Alliance. But we have broken down these two guilds, and Tartaros will surely regret being our enemy just like them. Makarov made a morale-boosting pre-war declaration. Our comrades were attacked. We feel the same, and our comrades have the same blood as ours. We must turn this pain and suffering into fighting spirit and declare war on the enemy. We do not stand for justice. We act according to our will. We will stake our bond and glory on the enemies of our loved ones. Boiling. All the people in the entire guild were boiling. They are not afraid of any enemy, even if the other is a terrifying and powerful enemy who can destroy the Senate alone. But for them, any enemy who harms relatives and companions is the enemy of the entire fairy tale guild. No matter who it is. Crush them, smash them, destroy the enemy's defenses. Let them understand the consequences of fighting against the fairy tale guild. Teams set off. Natsu, Lucy, Wendy and Xiaolulu team up with Happy. Came to the home of former Senator Michelo. I hope to get help after explaining the situation, so please let us be your escort temporarily. We will protect you. No, we should say let us protect you. Several people were waiting. How could Mikiero, a former commentator, be indifferent? I appreciate your kindness, but honestly it bothers me. Besides, how did you know my address? Michelo said. Happy stepped forward to comfort him. All right, we are all cats, aren't we? Michelle retorted. Who is the cat? He scolded a few people in the past. I know you are a guild that likes to cause trouble, and this time, you also want to use me as bait? Xiaolulu was a little angry, and raised her waist to retort, whether we come or not, you are the target of Tartaros. Cough, isn't this a bait? Kairo is obviously not so good at talking. Facing a few people, it was a severe lesson. What are you kidding? Which fool knows that he is being targeted and still waits obediently? I want to leave here, don't look for me. DADA. At this time, a girl came out of the back kitchen with a good tea in her hand. Grandpa, it's too rude to come here specially, let's cooperate with them. But all the current councillors have died. Grandpa, as a former senator, can you just sit back and watch? After listening to the words of his granddaughter Michelia in 1.1, Michelo remained silent. But it can also be seen that he has decided to compromise on this matter. Lucy chased after the victory. Excuse me, do you know what made them target the senators? Although Michelo was a little impatient, he still answered honestly, there are too many reasons, I can't figure it out, and it's not just the Dark Guild who hate us. Michelo was irritable. Soon he thought of a possibility and immediately wanted to say it. Everyone jumps off. Sudden. Natsu spoke violently, immediately rushed towards Lucy and Wendy, and immediately gave orders to Michelo and Michelia over there. Boom. Just as Michelia jumped down over there, the ground shook violently. The roaring explosion sounded instantly. Chapter 164, Signing into Tartaros, the new Devil Fruit ability. Whoops. I thought you were all blown away. At the broken eaves, a human-like guy with a pair of wolf ears appeared, and it was a little surprising to see the group of people who were safe and sound. Who are you? Lucy reached for the key at his waist, ready to fight at any moment. Like the current senator. Wow haha tilde. Jackal, one of the Tartaros' 9 demon gates, seems to be speaking to himself. Is it Tartaros? Natsu asked. Jackal raised his head, with a playful smile on his face similar to a wolf. Which green onion are you? Introducing Natsu. Natsu of fairy tale. I'm going to start hunting the underworld. This tilde. Jackal laughs. I feel very funny about Natsu's words. The scene was extremely frustrating for a while. What did that guy do to blow up my house? Michelo was angry, staring at Jackal in front of him. It seemed that his anger had destroyed his home. He's Tartaro's man, and he's the 25 who attacked the current senator. Happy and Xiaolulu were also wary. Lucy hurriedly said to Michelo, you are being targeted by him. Run away. I'll run away without you telling me. Michelo replied. Wendy said, let's leave this to Natsu-san. No problem. Humphrey. Natsu agreed, and Jackal didn't hesitate any longer, swept his arms. Moment. A large number of houses were detonated in an instant throughout the city. Rumbling dash. With a war raging, the residents of the city were busy fleeing, and the sudden explosion left the residents confused. Lucy yells, why get an unrelated town involved? Damn. Natsu rushed over angrily. That Jackal wasn't a small person either. He relied on the spell to detonate in front of him with a wave of his hand. The booming explosion sounded continuously. Relying on the characteristics of heat magic, Natsu rushed up, facing Jackal with a bang. In the end, he punched Jackal to the ground. Impressive, Natsu-san, it's alright. It's going too far. Doesn't that guy have something to say? Lucy and the others hurriedly stopped Natsu from continuing. Natsu also returned to his senses. Yeah, you should ask him the address of the base camp. Michelle watched as Jackal fell to the ground, and a strong panic rose in his heart. If their destination is FS, things are going to be troublesome. The more he thought about it, the more terrifying he felt, sweat dripping from his forehead. Few even among the constituencies know about their white legacy. How do those people know about faiths? No, I should think about how to hide first. Michaelo muttered to himself. Turning his head and pulling his granddaughter, he said, I'll leave this guy to you. I'm going to confirm the safety of the other former counselors. Michaela, come with me. Go right away. Seeing the abnormal Michiro Natsu, he also quickly asked, Master, if you know anything, tell us too. Michiro immediately retorted, I don't know anything. However, Jackal lying on the ground laughed. Really? After sitting up, he continued, if you can tell me any useful information, maybe I will let you go. Natsu's pupils tightened. The enemy, who looked as if he was unscathed, was also surprised. This guy. Michiro immediately ordered, I don't know anything. You go ask others. I really don't know anything. Hey, you guys. He has woken up. Kill him, you idiot. Jackal stood up with a smile. Then you'd better die. He looked back at Natsu and replied, and you have to listen carefully when others speak. Just when Natsu didn't know what to do, I saw a lot of strange marks on the body, and they glowed slightly as if something was brewing in them. My spell is the power to turn whatever you touch into a bomb. How many times do you touch me? Jackal said. Boom boom boom. In an instant, Natsu was surrounded by explosions, and the roaring explosion sounded continuously, covering Natsu's entire being. A doomsday-like mushroom cloud rose in the city, which was caused by the explosion. Puff. The bomb exploded. Natsu fell directly to the ground, and Lucy and Wendy's eyes widened. The body is still there, very powerful, as expected of a fireball. Ha ha ha. Jackal laughed. Lucy gritted his teeth and looked at Jackal with hatred. Jackal looked back at Michaelo again. As long as you tell me the information, I promise that I will only kill your granddaughter. Don't worry, I will kill her very gently. Wow. Michelle turned and ran away in fear. Even the granddaughter gave up directly. It can be seen that Jackal's power completely broke him. I won't let you escape. Jackal immediately chased after him. Lucy and Wendy immediately used magic to get in the way of Jackal. Roar of the dragon. Open it. The door of Scorpio. Boom 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 dash. Jackal detonated the air in front of him with a wave of his hand, and the hurricane generated by the explosion instantly blocked the two attacks. Ha ha ha. By the way, I forgot to mention one more thing. What we Tartaros uses is not magic, but conjuration, and it is more advanced than magic, and a mere wizard can't beat me. Jackal said, arching his body. The arms swept 180 degrees, forming a spiral hurricane. Burst spiral. The spiral exploded in an instant, surrounding Wendy and Lucy, and instantly defeated them. Goodbye. After finishing Wendy and Lucy, Jackal immediately chased after Michaelo. 823. The injured Wendy and Lucy were very embarrassed. It's amazing. Are all Tartaros people so amazing? We can't beat it at all. Wendy and Lucy propped up their bodies strongly, looking at Jackal, who had gone away, and their hearts were extremely desolate. They were no match for Jackal at all. If only Dieter was here. Yes. The two women propped up their bodies and planned to continue chasing them. Even if they knew that they were not opponents, they still had to chase. Ga, boom. As soon as the two of them took a step, they saw a person flying in the air, instantly hitting the ground behind them, and instantly breaking a big hole. It's Jackal. Really? Yeah. How could he fly over? Michaelo is a master. Happy and Xiaolulu were shocked when they saw the figure in the pit. Wendy was also a little surprised. He seems to have been beaten back. Could it be that there are no masters in this city? Really? Lucy was also surprised. The two cats and the two women are very curious, and they don't know what kind of masters there are in this city. I just said why I didn't see you, so I was defeated. Even Natsu was defeated. Sounded. Wendy and Lucy burst into smiles when they heard the familiar voice. Looked over. It is Dieter who is walking towards this direction from the city. Chapter 165, Animals, Fish and Fruits, Illusory Beasts. Brother Dieter. Why are you here? It's Brother Dieter. Shouldn't you be protecting the other ex-senators? The two girls are happy. Dieter shook his head. Go one step late. You're already dead. Yes, Dieter didn't deliberately hide nearby, but just came over. After arranging the plan, Dieter also went to protect a certain senator. But it was a pity that he was still a step behind, and the person was already dead in the past. I had no choice but to come over to Natsu. When I came here and saw Jackal, I knew that Natsu might be defeated, so he beat Jackal back in a panic. Ding. Sign into Tartaros and get a chance to draw a lottery. The probability of this lottery is 45% for animal, 40% for nature, 15% for superhuman. Whether to draw. Sudden. A little cute voice sounded in my mind. Dieter then remembered that now that he has entered Tartaros, it is indeed a sign-in. Lottery. Glancing at the probability of each draw, Dieter didn't pay much attention to it. Now that his strength is enough to defeat most of the enemies, no matter what he draws is the icing on the cake. Ding. Congratulations to the master for obtaining animals, fish and fish fruits, illusory beasts, blue dragon form. 666. Dieter was delighted that he actually got Kaido's devil fruit. This ability is a bit lost, especially the fairy tale world dragon is supremely powerful. I am afraid that this ability should be greatly improved, and it is quite possible to upgrade to the full level not weaker than the shock fruit. Saddle tilde. Ability to absorb, power up, physical strength. Body becomes stronger. Dieter found that he couldn't transform now. Probably because the level hasn't reached yet. Cough cough. Jackal's cough woke Dieter. He stood up from the big hole on the ground and looked at the person who suddenly appeared with an ugly expression. Who are you? Jackal asked. Dieter smiled and replied, Fairy Tales class wizard, Dieter. Jackal sneered, those inhuman pupils staring at the unique fist. Lucy immediately thought of a question. Busy calling, brother Dieter, be careful, if you touch this guy's body, it will be engraved with a mark and it will explode. It's too late. Jackal exulted. Gone. The light traps around Dieter's arm and blooms in an instant. Boom. There was an explosion, and the place where Dieter was standing was instantly detonated. The powerful heat wave is coming. Smoke and dust scattered. The surrounding area of Dieter was blown to pieces, and Dieter stood there with his arm. How come? Lucy closed his mouth in horror, watching the scene in front of him. Wendy said quickly, brother Dieter, don't move around, I'll treat you right now. Dieter, your arm it's gone. The two cats also had tears in their eyes. Ha ha ha, it's great, it's so good. Jackal was also ecstatic. That unique although did not make any screams. But his arms are already young, and even half of his body is being burned by the flames, looking extremely miserable. What are you laughing at? Dieter raised an eyebrow. Looking at Wendy and others, he smiled and said, it's okay, I'm fine. Mutations protrude between speeches. I saw Dieter's burning half of his body slowly growing until the entire disappeared arm was covered by flames again. Not only that, the burning flame on his side slowly disappeared, replaced by a shape that was intact, and even his clothes were not torn. How is that possible? Why did your body recover again? Jackal's eyes widened. Looking at the recovered arm, he was extremely shocked and said in horror, what exactly is going on? The arm that was obviously exploded will grow back. What type of magic is this? It's really okay. How on earth did this happen? That arm is clearly visible. This, my god, Dieter, why did your arm suddenly recover? We saw your arm get blown off with our own eyes. The two cats and the two women were similarly stunned. Looking at the intact half of the body, I can't figure it out. Could it be some kind of magic that can regenerate? But why even clothes can be reborn? Even if they can, it stands to reason that rebirth and recovery should consume a lot of physical or magic power. But why does Dieter look so relaxed and don't feel any consumption at all? Dieter, how on earth did he do it? The flame will not go out. Even if there is a trace of flame still burning, then I can still recover. Dieter disagrees. With his flaming fist, he charged towards Jackal. I will never lose. Jackal was also unwilling to be outdone, and he also slammed over with his explosive fist. Bang bang bang. The battle between the two instantly made Michaelo's house more and more messy. Stone bricks, land, buildings, everything around him was overturned by the sound of the explosion. And every time Jackal's fist slammed it exploded. And the unique body will always enter the elementalization at that moment. No matter how violent the explosion was, it couldn't hurt Dieter. It could only blast his burning body open, but it couldn't cause any real damage. How could it be possible? Jackal roared, losing his mind more and more. No matter how he attacked, he couldn't cause any damage. Even if he tried his best to detonate it, those bombs could only fail. I watched the bomb detonate, and then my body turned into flames and recovered. He doesn't understand. Obviously, conjuration was more advanced than magic, but he encountered two magicians who restrained him one after another. The former can devour heat energy, and it took a lot of effort to defeat it. The enemy in front of him is even more exaggerated. Immunity to explosions, as if his bombs just explode some flames, and the flames can recover on their own. How is this possible? He felt helpless like never before, and it seemed that there was no use in continuing to fight. Instead, you will be dragged to death. Nothing impossible. Good for the money. You're trying to kill me. It just can't be done. Dieter laughs. Body back. Instantly opened a certain distance with Jackal. The right fist was folded and placed on the waist, and the raging flames wrapped the fist. Fire punch. Moment. Dieter's arm turned into a huge flame with extremely high temperature, burst out like a roar, and devoured it towards Jackal. Fast as lightning. The scope of the flames covered the entire Michelo house. The raging flames scorched the ground into deep ravines. The fire fist is like a meteorite falling from the sky, and the body is hot due to the scorching high temperature. Devour. The flames swallowed Jackal, and the strong impact was not blocked, carrying Jackal's body toward the distance. Crash the buildings. More powerful than the explosion caused by Jackal. The terrifying scope spread to dozens of buildings in half the city. Destructive power is superb. Chapter 166. Dieter vs. Jackal. Defeat one of the 9 demon gates. Fire. Flame? How can it be flame? Brother Dieter can actually know the magic of fire. Wendy and Lucy were stunned. Watching Dieter use the flame magic that is as powerful as Natsu's, the whole person is in a state of love. In the fairy tale guild, Brother Dieter's strength has always been a mystery. When I first saw him, He possessed a body magic that could grow bigger and smaller. It was unanimously believed that it was a gigantic magic that was exactly the same as that of President Makarov. It was only later that I found out that this magic seemed to be some kind of property that could turn the body into rubber. Then I saw the magic that can shatter everything, and it seems to have something to do with the vibration. Although magic is fascinated. But anyway, I know so many forms. Who would have thought that this is not over yet? Today, right now, witnessed Brother Dieter's new magic again. This time the magic is easy to recognize. It belongs to flame magic. But this has never happened before. This makes them even more fascinated by Dieter. And how much magic is yet to be revealed. Xiaolulu, I don't think Natsu's status is guaranteed. He is the only one in the guild who uses fire very well. Now that Dieter is in place, Natsume Happy also hesitated while looking at the roaring flames. Now Dieter's flames are obviously stronger than Natsu's. When talking about flame magic in the future, Dieter is probably the first thing that comes to mind. It's so mysterious. How does it feel like Dieter can do anything? Xiaolulu also grew her eyes and looked at Dieter, and she kept muttering in her heart, feeling that the power she showed from the first meeting to now is different. Simply omnipotent. Thanks to Tartaros, I didn't die when I punched it out. Dieter retracted the flame's fist, twisting his fingertips slightly to pick up a small flame, looking at the end of the gully blasted out by the fire fist. Jackal reappeared shortly after. The clothes on his body are already tattered, and there are many burnt spots on his body, although he is very embarrassed. But his physical strength is definitely not bad, and he has not lost his fighting power. Oh, that's amazing. Jackal looked down at the injury and laughed. With blue veins on his face, he muttered, "It's too strong. It doesn't look like a human." "So what do you do next?" Dieter raised an eyebrow. "Dealing with these people, Dieter doesn't need to be taken seriously. He can kill them slowly." Jackal raised his arm. I found my arms trembling slightly. His face fused and he roared angrily, "How can a mere human let me know? But one of the 9 demon gates, CFBB. It's impossible." Jackal screamed in anger. His muscles exploded, and he instantly opened his tattered clothes. Full of looks. The whole person is no longer human, and turned into a werewolf walking upright. "A Hilda!" Jackal roared and charged, and the ground under his feet was shattered by a huge force. The sharp wolf claws pierced into the palm of his hand, and rubbed his fist hard to hit Dieter's head, about to shatter his head. "Let me see your power." Dieter crossed his arms to block the front of his head, and bowed slightly in preparation for defense. Boom! At the moment of the collision, the explosion sounded suddenly. The surging force of the explosion pushed Dieter's body back a long distance. 2 plowed gaps extend from the ground. "You little human, don't even try to ride on our devil's head." Seeing that the blow didn't cause much damage, Jackal jumped into the air. He raised his right fist and smashed the unique head from the sky. The power and inertia of this blow is definitely stronger than the previous punch. However, even so, Dieter still disapproved of it, and put one hand on top of his head to resist the inertial fall. Boom! Ground crane crusher! Exclamation mark. The earth shook violently. The cracks crisscrossed like a spider web burst, extending endlessly in all directions. Dieter's body was instantly connected to the ground. Destroy humanity. Jackal found the right moment. The other hand became claw-like, and the sharp claws slashed towards the unique neck. The sharp feeling of tearing the space ushered in. Armed. Dieter understated the use of armed color to cover the body. The claws slid across Dieter's body, sending out sparks, and the claws left a light white mark on the armament color covering his body. But only so much. "How come?" Jackal laughed again when he saw his carefully planned plan, and couldn't keep his cool any longer. "Call it impossible." White light trapped around Dieter's fist. "It's my time to attack," Dieter said, roaring out of the power that had built up in his fist. A thud struck Jackal's body like thunder. The vibration that penetrated the body instantly acted on Jackal's body, and the eyes of Jackal, who turned into a werewolf in season, were bloodshot. Cough cough. Blood spurted out. Jackal's body also flew upside down. It slammed on the ground like rolling, and lifted up layers of stones on the ground. The strength is not bad. The spell is also good. It's a pity that the gap between us is too big. Dieter pulled his body out of the ground. He patted the dust on his body and analyzed Jackal's state. Especially when you transform into a demon, your strength and speed have doubled. If you change to someone else, you might be really embarrassed by you, but it's just not enough to face me. Dieter swayed leisurely before Jackal. The latter staggered and grabbed his stomach and stood up, looking coldly at Dieter in front of him, as if he didn't agree with what he said. "Really, I didn't expect that. It was the first time that I was defeated so thoroughly, so I'm not reconciled." Jackal slumped to the ground shaking his body. He put his hands on the ground and muttered to himself. Sudden. His tone was instantly gloomy, "But at least let me go to hell with these guys." A beam of light burst out from the ground. Soon the entire city was surrounded, as if something extremely dangerous was going on. "How is this going? Is it? He wants to blow up the whole city." Lucy and the others immediately analyzed the results. Suddenly, he looked at Jackal, who was on the ground, and hated him immensely. "It's too late. I'm the bomb myself, and I won't stop if I die. Ha ha ha, let's see you in hell." Jackal shouted arrogantly, wanting to see the terrified expression of the enemy who defeated him in front of him. But he found that he didn't move at all. "Boring trick," Dieter grumbled, reaching out to grab him in his palm, and a white light instantly enveloped Jackal's head. "Since you can't ask anything, what's the point of your life?" Dieter said. An infinite light blooms in his hands. "Ahilda!" That Jackal suddenly let out a piercing scream, and the piercing scream made Lucy and Wendy's faces pale. "Ha Ahilda!" Blood dripped from Jackal's body to the ground. Under the strong ability of the shaking fruit, Jackal didn't even hold on for a few seconds before his brain was shattered alive and he died in front of his eyes. "I'll check out a few other places when Dieter wakes up." Dieter threw Jackal's body aside. "Find a spot in the shattered city ruins, sit down and wait." Chapter 167, Melancholy, Sentimental Literary Girl, Liang Tianyue Seilah. Her brother Dieter has a contact crystal ball. We need to contact the guild, and by the way, bring Michelo to let him tell the plan about this Tartaros. Lucy asked. Dieter, however, shook his head. Seeing this, Lucy and Happy walked towards the city, preparing to borrow the contact crystal in the city to inform the guild and capture Michelo. By the way, demons and spells need to be reported. Ding! Congratulations to the master for defeating Jackal, one of the 9 demon gates, and getting 10 skill points. Do you want to add more points? The cute voice of the system assistant sounded in my mind. Add. Dieter agreed without hesitation. At the same time, the formation of the original arrangement also changed the route, and decided to go elsewhere. Originally, Dieter planned to solve the matter here and go directly to find Mirajane and Erza, but what he didn't expect was that defeating the members of 9 demon gates will directly reward 10 points of skills, which can be added to the ability of level 1. That way he wouldn't be able to give up his enemies in Elfman and Listener. After careful calculation, after fighting Tartaros, his fruit ability can be upgraded to full level again. Since there is such a fast opportunity, how can he give up? Ding! Successfully added points. The current, animals, fish and fruits, illusory beasts, king long form, and the ability level is level 2. Add success. Dieter also felt another small increase in strength in his body. Although not much, it can make Dieter feel that his strength has improved a little again. Over there. Natsu quickly woke up and hurriedly looked around to find the enemy. Don't look for it, I have already eliminated it for you. Dieter quickly reminded. Dieter, why are you here? Lucy and Happy. Natsu was surprised. Dieter made Natsu understand after repeating the matter. That guy is really damn it. But I figured out how to deal with him. Natsu felt a pity. He's already figured out how to fix that kind of thing that explodes. It's a pity that the battle is over now, otherwise he will definitely be able to defeat that guy. Okay, now that you're awake, I'll leave. You can go back to the guild. Dieter got up, disappears in place immediately after saying the last word to Natsu. Inside a room in a small remote village. No, I'm not breathing anymore. Elfman and Listener were the personnel who came to guard Elder Yulai, but unfortunately they were a step behind, and Elder Yulai was no longer breathing. How come? Listener felt very sorry. Elfman said, help me prepare the magic crystal for communication. I have to report to the guild. Listener agreed, reaching for the crystal in her backpack. Elfman here, still examining the dead Elder Yuri's body, exclaimed, how did they kill him? No trauma to be seen. Sudden. The deceased Elder Yulai suddenly opened his eyes. Suddenly, Elfman was startled and exclaimed, Elder Yulai, you are still alive. I saw Elder Yulai stretched out his finger and aimed at the magic crystal for communication. Peng. The fingertips burst into light, instantly shattering the magic crystal. Listener panicked. Elfman immediately reprimanded, what are you doing, using magic crystals for communication? However, after breaking the magic crystal, Elder Yulai fell to the ground again, as if he had died. What's up? What's up? Both of them felt very strange, and didn't understand what happened to the Elder Yulai just now. It's really not that easy to order the dead. Sigh. Elfman and Listener woke up immediately, stood up and looked at the woman reading in the back room. Who are you? What did Yuko do to the elders? The two were wary. Seilah looked down at the book. I gave him a ride to the underworld. Are you Tartaros? Elfman immediately guessed the woman's identity. Stories written by humans are so boring. Seilah reached out and closed the book, gently placed it on the table and got up slowly. Twisted his body gracefully. Let me write a story about a demon. She's coming. Listener. Elfman reminded immediately. Listener is serious. Sudden. Elfman's arm stretched out and unconsciously pinched Listener's slender neck. Brother Elfman? Listener looked at her brother inexplicably, not understanding the purpose of doing this at this time. What? Elfman was a little surprised, and suddenly his arms tightened. He hurriedly said, no, the body is out of control. Listener. Okay, it hurts. Listener's pain. For flowers. Elfman saw his sister getting more and more pain, and immediately blushed and had a thick neck. Knowing all this is definitely what the woman in front of her did, he immediately roared, what have you done? Stop it now. Seilah was unmoved. His lips parted lightly and he spit out a sentence, in the dictionary of the devil, there is no word for mercy. Elfman was in a hurry. Looking at Listener, who had fallen into a coma, she roared, damn it, stop it. How dare you control my body? Tears welled up in his eyes. The roar had turned into a prayer. Listener, wake up, Listener, please stop. Seilah's eyes narrowed, looking at Elfman and asking, please. When humans beg the demons, they sell their souls to the demons. Are you going to sell me your souls? Zero. Elfman burst into tears and was in great pain. He knew that he couldn't agree to this person's request, but now his sister's life was in his hands, and if he didn't agree, his sister might die. Boom. Whoa. The door was kicked open, and Dieter walked in leisurely with his hands behind his back. Both Seilah and Elfman looked. The latter cried, Brother Dieter, you are finally here. Dieter smiled and patted Elfman on the shoulder. Before Dieter could say anything, Elfman quickly replied, Dieter brother, this guy controls my body. I didn't hit Listener. I know, go to sleep first. Dieter nodded, looking at Elfman. Suddenly his pupils shrank. The strong momentum erupted in an instant, and Elfman was instantly stunned. Puff. Listener and Elfman collapsed to the ground, and Seilah's control completely failed. And Seilah looked at Dieter in surprise. Of course she also felt that momentum, but she never expected that there would be such a number one person among the mages. It's really not that simple. Then should we settle the matter that you bullied my brother and sister next? Dieter narrowed his eyes, sweeping unscrupulously at the Seilah in front of him. Seilah in human form is really pretty, especially the pair of horns on the head, with Seilah's face, is like a melancholy and sentimental literary girl. Second. Chapter 168, Dieter vs Liang Tianyue Seilah. The command spell fails. This made Dieter want to grab the horn on her head and give her it. The story has to have an order. You have to order it. It's not up to you, Seilah said. Raise her delicate fingers at Dieter and use her spell to manipulate others. I order you to kill your brother. Seilah gave Dieter orders. Dieter, on the other hand, watched his body uncontrollably stretch towards the fainted Elfman. Seilah's command spell is to force control of people whose magic power is lower than hers. Dieter has no magic power in his body. He can only be regarded as an ordinary person, and it is very normal to control him. White glow wraps on the palm. Seeing that he was about to grab Elfman's neck, Dieter's hand stopped just a few centimeters away. Continue. Seilah sensed something odd and continued to give Dieter the order. But Dieter's body didn't move. The 857 command spell is really powerful, and it almost cost me a lot. Dieter murmured and retracted his arms, regaining his freedom to look at Seilah in front of him. How is it possible? You can break free from my control. Seilah was horrified. What is certain is that the person in front of him can be controlled by him, but he did not expect to break free. What does this mean? This man's magic is stronger than hers. But although Seilah couldn't perceive the man's magic power, what was certain was that the magic power should not be as good as hers, and the result was still broken. Then it means that this person has a terrible level of control over his body. But how is it possible? Controlling the manipulation of the body. What is this principle? Through magic? It's not right. It should involve motor nerves, but unfortunately it doesn't work for me. Dieter moves the body, recalling the state of being controlled just now. First of all, the possibility of being controlled by magic in his body can be eliminated, because there is no magic in his body, so it should involve brain nerves and the like. It stands to reason that Dieter should not be able to resist, but he can shatter the order through the vibration of the shock fruit itself. In addition, the overlord color can also play a role in breaking free. The most important thing is that Dieter has absolute control over himself, and various physical enhancement abilities make him enough to resist the control of orders. Even if you are breaking free, I just want to see a cannibalism. Seilah reacts after losing her mind. She relied on the command spell, and since this person could break free, he had to think of another method. As he spoke, he controlled Listener and Elfman, who fainted. The two people were manipulated to attack the unique, trying to force Dieter to do something to their own. Haha. Seeing two people attacking him, Dieter's body swayed slightly, and he was able to easily dodge the two people's attacks every time. To be honest, the strength of the two of them is really not enough. Even if I let them hit me casually, it can't cause any injury, so your wishful thinking is useless. Dieter replied. Listener and Elfman asked wrong. But it depends on who is facing, and if it is someone else in the guild, you may really have to deal with it seriously. But Dieter's strength outstripped the two by an unknown number of times. In Dieter's eyes, their movements were slower than that of a child, and it was impossible to hit him. Humphrey. Seilah's face was cold. Manipulate the two to look at each other. If that's the case, let them beat themselves. Bright. Listener Elfman and each other attack each other, ready to kill each other. You are playing with fire. Dieter sneered, his eyes suddenly suspicious. A supreme aura erupted in an instant, cracking the wooden floor under his feet in an instant. The roof is also overwhelmed. When it was destroyed by the physical damage of the overlord color, the sky instantly dimmed, and the weather like the end of the day enveloped the small village. Listener and Elfman were also instantly shocked by this momentum. The control was also broken immediately, and he fell to the ground and fainted again. Seilah's eyes widened in front of him. How can this momentum be so strong? Seilah's body trembled slightly. At that moment, she seemed to see a more terrifying aura than Zeref, the author of the Book of Demons. That is a kind of eternal imposing manner that destroys the world. It gave people a kind of power like the wrath of a god, and she was shocked. The terrifying aura made her feel like she was bowing her head down, and that feeling made her not dare to provoke anger. Cracks appear in the mind. His eyes were no longer so dull, with a timid peripheral vision. The heartbeat accelerated slightly. I can't wait to get out of here and away from this terrifying man in front of me. Isn't that brave enough to be the 9 demon gates? Dieter took back the overlord color. His eyes were filled with disappointment, and he thought that these demons were enough to resist the shock of the overlord. Result: the bigger the hope, the bigger the disappointment, and this Seilah's performance is far from up to standard. Seilah was furious. She was humiliated by the sadness she saw in Dieter's eyes. Recalling the series of performances just now is extremely angry. As a demon, he would be afraid of humans, and he was frightened by an aura that almost bowed his head to the court. This was a huge insult. It's okay to be angry. Show your strength and let me play to the fullest. Dieter laughed. The tone and attitude of this speech was full of contempt. As a demon, I will never agree. Free yourself. Seilah growled. The surging power erupted from the body, instantly destroying the entire wooden house. Listener and Delphman's bodies are constantly rolling on the ground with powerful force blowing. Dieter couldn't help but narrow his eyes. He smiled and looked at Seilah, waiting for her to show her demonic stance. The body is not humanoid. The originally cute double horns on the head stood up and turned into ferocious sky-high horns. The legs that were full of temptation have disappeared, and they have turned into a pair of straight sharp swords, and the body is slightly suspended and never touched the ground. And at this moment, Seilah, who is in a demonic state, is covered with evil symbols. There is only one face that looks like a human. Go to hell. Seilah rushed up, waving those knife-like legs to the unique throat. So anxious. 1.1 Dieter's arms were covered in armament colors, and the dark horns strengthened his defenses. Blast the fist and smash the tip of the leg together. Boom. Smash. The strength of the two people is very strong, and the force caused by the collision will crack the earthquake. Dilapidated houses were even crushed. The roaring explosion sounded, and the figures of the two people were extremely fast, and every time they touched, they could splash in and out of fire. Dieter is happy. Since I have the ability to shake the fruit, I rarely fight with people close to me. Today, I rarely get excited and I can have a good time. The power of each punch is slowly increasing. Dieter enjoys melee combat. That bloody collision, the fist wind that set off made the adrenal hormones secrete extremely fast, which brought Dieter unprecedented comfort. Dash. Rumble. Another bang. Dieter's power has increased again. Chapter 169. Capture Seilah. This time Seilah was overturned. After 2 laps on the ground, he stood up awkwardly. Looking at the unique with an extremely solemn gaze, she said that she is different from human beings to have this kind of power, and her physical strength is actually much stronger than her as a demon. It makes her feel stressed. No. Not only the pressure, but also a trace of fear, subconsciously thinking that if you continue, you may die. Take a deep breath. Seilah has always trusted her instincts, and it doesn't seem like a good thing to continue stalemate. Leave. Seilah is an activist, saying the retreat will never stop. He turned his head and fled far away, trying to escape. Fire punch. However, Dieter had long been wary of Seilah's escape, and when she saw her turn her head and walked away, she immediately threw a very hot fist, roaring over Seilah's. The scream sounded, and Seilah was bathed in flames. The extremely high temperature flames burning the demonized body. Seilah kept fleeing, letting the flames burn her body. She still did not stop. Run away embarrassedly in the distance. 25 It would be too embarrassing to let you go just like that, Dieter muttered. The right fist trapped in a white halo and burst out. Boom. The ground is broken and the ground is broken. The ground between the unique feet extending Seilah to the body was smashed, and the broken stones were all over the place, and Seilah was knocked down with one blow. PFFT. The moment Seilah ran away, she only felt a strong vibrational force coming from behind her, shrouding her in an instant. The body was instantly hit with internal injuries. His legs were weak and paralyzed, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. She fell to the ground in embarrassment. Why are you running? You are a member of Tartaros. What a shame to run away. Dieter came. Looking at Seilah, who was still struggling to get up, who fell to the ground, inspected. What the hell do you want? If you want to kill it quickly. Seilah understands that today is a complete confession. Fortunately, even if he is killed, it is not completely death. This may be an opportunity. As long as you die here, you can go back. No. Dieter immediately shook his head, reached for the horns on her head, and took her back to where Listener Elfman and Comatose were located. He smiled cheerfully and replied, I plan to take you to meet someone, but I just need to wait. Seilah frowned. Watching Dieter also felt very inexplicable in her heart. She really thought about dying now. However, this person's strength is beyond imagination, and perhaps investigating the clues may be able to give other demons some plans. Simply wait and see. Not much. Listener and Elfman were both awake and slowly opened their eyes to look at the chaotic village. The village in front of them seemed to be empty all the year round. Houses in the village have collapsed. Several deep ravines on the ground extend into the distance, telling that a great war once happened here. Brother Dieter. Listener and Elfman were relieved to see Dieter unscathed. Looking at the bound woman next to him, he also understood that Dieter had won this battle, successfully imprisoned the enemy. Dieter nodded, glanced at the two, and then continued, "Since you are all right, then go back. I will take her to find other people. Tartaros' strength is much more complicated than imagined. When you go back, remember to tell the guild leader that Tartaros uses a different spell than magic. This woman's spell is an order, which can forcefully control people who are weaker than her, and at the same time can become a demon." Different. Both Listener and Elfman looked at Seilah in surprise. Unexpectedly, Tartaros is not using magic. It is indeed a very surprising clue. Order? Force control? If this is the case, then the entire guild may only be controlled by a few people. Well, then we'll go back. Elfman knew that it was unnecessary to stay, and after a few words with Dieter, he left with Listener. People go. Dieter reaches out and grabs Seilah and uses the moon step to charge in Erza and Mirajane's direction. Ding! Congratulations to the master for defeating the 9 demon gates demon Liang Tianyue Seilah for getting 10 skill points. Do you want to add more points? The same sound as always. Dieter agreed to add points and successfully increased the ability of the dragon form to level 3. At the same time, the physique, strength, endurance and so on are further improved. A gorgeous and extravagant castle building. Snoring. The carved porcelain teapot exudes a fragrant aroma. After I retired, I started growing herbs, which are chamomile at home. Erza and Mirajane, the former speaker of the Magic Council, entertain Erza and Mirajane at their home. Their name welcome. Smell it smells so good. This chamomile deserves to be called the apple of the earth. Mirajane and Erza were unguarded. He praised the tea that was poured by the former speaker himself, and was filled with emotion after tasting it. Crawford said, "Well, it's rare for you to come so far, so it may be a little off-putting for me to ask, but, how did you know my address?" Listen to this. Mirajane also put down the delicious tea in his hand and said, "Although it is rude to do so, it is urgent, and we use the guild's own intelligence network." "Take a deep breath," Crawford said. "This way I can find my home address, which is supposed to be classified information _ I didn't expect it." "I'm sorry," Erza apologized. Gram 857 Lawford immediately smiled and waved. With a smile on his face, he said, "No, I have retired, and I will not pursue it." Ha ha ha. After looking at Erza in armor, he also said modestly, "I remember you, I saw you in the Senate." Erza felt guilty. He said, "I made you laugh. I miss it so much." Crawford recalled, "I heard that for the next 7 years, you were all frozen and sealed." Crawford wanted to continue chatting. Mirajane was too busy to stop. "Mr. Crawford, let's get down to business." "Ah, I forgot, it's Faith's business." Crawford sighed. "I am also heartbroken to hear the sad news of my former colleagues. Now that the Senate is not functioning, I am very pleased that a guild with a strong sense of justice like you can stand up." Erza said earnestly, "We believe that to stop Tartaros, we must first destroy Fez." Mirajane added, "So can you please tell us where it is?" Looking at the two people staring at each other, Crawford sighed with regret. Helplessly said, "Unfortunately, I don't know about this either." Seeing Mirajane seemed a little surprised, Crawford quickly explained, "It's not because this is classified information that I won't tell you. Although I am the former speaker, I don't have the authority to know this." Chapter 170, Someone Who is More Evil Than a Demon. Erza was a little touched this time. How did they get the information that even the former speaker didn't know? Erza was surprised. Crawford scratched his head in confusion. "It's really unthinkable." See, unable to get Fez's location. Mirajane changed her mind and continued to ask, "Then can you tell us which 3 former counselors are protecting Fez with life-body linkage magic?" "We will do our best to protect them." "However," Crawford said again in a regretful tone, "I don't have the right to know that." Affection. Both Erza and Mirajane were puzzled. This question in 3 unknown things. Why Tartaros can know these things? Could it be that there is something wrong with the council? Neither had doubts about the former speaker. The Fez is a forgotten weapon, an upgraded weapon that cannot be revealed to the world. Therefore, it is protected by an ultimate method of concealment, and even the senator who becomes the key to the seal does not know that he is the key. Crawford tells, "I don't even know myself." Then, Tartaros is really going to kill all the former senators. Here comes the voice. Mirajane and Erza suddenly hit the table. He looked vigilantly in the direction outside the house, his complexion extremely rich. "Looks like they're here." The house was surrounded, listening to footsteps. There were at least 20 people. The two quickly analyzed. Turning to face the outside of the house, he immediately said to Crawford, "Speaker, please go to the inner room." "Is it Ming Tartaros?" Crawford pretended to be frightened, his voice and body shaking appropriately. Bang dash. Wow la la. Windows and doors were broken. A group of armored enemies broke through the window, wielding their weapons and slaying Mirajane and Erza. Mirajane and Erza are not vegetarian either. In an instant, he took out his weapon and turned into a head-on attack, and a collision would knock the person in front of him out of the house. After falling to the ground outside, Mirajane and Erza confronted him valiantly. "This is the first time fighting alongside you, Myra." Erza laughed. Mirajane responded, "Let them see the strength of the fairy tale guild." Boom, rip-off tilde. Bang bang bang, fire punch. The two fought very vigorously, and a flame roared from the air. Over 10 enemies were instantly defeated. Dieter, why are you here?" Mirajane and Erza were both a little surprised. "You guys have been fooled. The former speaker is from Tartaros. Otherwise, how could someone know about such an important matter as Fez?" Dieter fell from the sky. After hearing the words, the two women were stunned. In an instant, he reacted, and just about to go to the trouble of the former speaker, his body swayed. Puff, puff. The two fell to the ground and fainted. "Silly woman." Dieter shook his head speechlessly, closed his eyes and took a deep breath. See and hear the color activated. Instantly senses the direction of the former speaker who is fleeing. "Isn't it too slow to run now?" Dieter looked in a certain direction, grabbing Seilah who was bound with one hand, and immediately stretched the other into the dense forest in the distance. Caught, Dieter yanked and grabbed the ex-speaker who fled back. "Lord Seilah." The former speaker was shocked when he saw the person on Dieter's other hand, and at the same time sweat oozes from his forehead, and he sensed that something was wrong. Tilde. Dieter looked at Crawford with a smirk. I said, take me to the place to contact Tartaros. I haven't officially met Tartaros yet." Crawford wanted to refuse, but seeing that Seilah, who didn't plan to refute at all, had no choice but to accept his fate and lead the way. "What are you up to?" Seilah asked in a panic. She thought that this person had some plan, but she didn't expect that he would come directly to arrest the former speaker, and even meet with Tartaros people. If she guessed correctly, it should be Kyoka, right? If Kyoka knew that she was captured, I'm afraid it wouldn't give her any good looks. "You'll find out later." Dieter is not in a hurry to say that he intends to stimulate the people of Tartaros to see if these demons will be angry. To a room. Crawford fought the illustrious use of waste crystals to contact the gate to the underworld. Soon, the magic crystal in front of him fluctuated with electricity, and soon a person with a female face appeared on the crystal ball. "Who are you?" Kyoka saw Seilah and Crawford at a glance, and immediately realized that something was wrong, and asked in a cold tone. "Hello, dear Tartaros, I am a sorceress who killed Jackal by accident, and then I will kill the woman you like, Seilah, and loyal subordinates." Former speaker Crawford, "In front of you, know how you want to see them die." Dieter smiled, reaching for the two guys' throats. A pair of innocent smiles looked at the magic crystal. "You wanna die?" Kyoka sullenly looked at Dieter's smiling face in the crystal. Extreme anger. It doesn't matter if Crawford is dead or not, but Seilah is going to die. Even if she doesn't really die, she is still extremely angry, with endless thunder brewing in her heart, and she can't wait to swallow Dieter alive. "Miss Kyoka, help me." Crawford was pale, and the huge body was shaking humiliatingly. He was terrified. "Then I'll kill Crawford first," Dieter said. He would not forgive those who allegedly hurt Erza and Mirajane, and it was for this reason that Crawford sent the two girls to Tartaros to be tortured by Kyoka. He won't let this guy go. A white halo wrapped around his hands, slowly covering Crawford's head. Flavor Kaka. The sound of bone crushing resounded in the palm of his hand. That Crawford's eyes widened and his mouth was wide open. The whites of his eyes were covered with bloodshots, and blood slowly flowed from the corners of his eyes. Kian Li Zhao. Ears, nose, mouth. Scarlet blood flowed out one after another, infecting his clothes, dripping across the trembling body and dripping to the ground. Boom. Red and white things go in an instant. Crawford's head was crushed alive by Dieter, and the smell of blood filled the room. Blood splattered on Dieter's face and clothes. "Then it's her time or." Dieter threw Crawford's headless body aside, smiled and looked at Kyoka in the crystal ball. His voice sounded calmly. "Devil. You are a devil." Kyoka was furious. Seeing Dieter laughing and Crawford pinching his head alive, his body suddenly felt cold. The appearance of this human being is simply more evil than the demons. Squeezing a person's head doesn't even show any emotion, yet he is so calm to kill another. Simply not human. Chapter 171. Terrified Kyoka and Seilah. Seilah was also terrified. She looked at Dieter in front of her with chills, and it was the first time she saw that this righteous wizard was able to do such cruel things. Pinch a person alive and not move at all. This guy is even scarier than a demon. How could such a number one figure in the righteous sorcerers guild? Afraid? Dieter laughed. You who are demons should be afraid of humans? Shock. Both Seilah and Kyoka were horrified. They looked at Unique with incredible eyes, wondering how he knew that he and others were demons. Tartaros. Dieter naturally noticed their expressions and said with a smile, "The members of the 9 demon gates are all demons in the Book of Zeref, and your guild does not have a leader. In other words, the guild leader is still sleeping, so the vice-guild leader Margir is in charge, and the spells you use are just abilities created by Zeref. Are you planning to destroy the magic power on the entire continent to awaken end?" Dieter spoke up. Every word was trampled like a girl facing red fruit. Make their plans clear. Who the hell are you? The people have never seen you. How can they only know our plan? Kyoko asked. She was angry though. But the big enemy, especially knowing that the enemy they planned was in front of them, didn't have time to worry too much about Seilah. Force yourself to calm down. 857 to keep collecting clues. Dieter's eyes. The palm that was holding Seilah slowly tightened. Seilah screamed in pain, widened her eyes, opened her mouth and kept squirming her throat, making it harder to breathe. The face is even more ugly. Kyoko's face was sullen, looking at the unique eyes and wishing to swallow Huoc. This scream is really like the sound of heaven. Memories of Dieter. The state displayed at the moment has nothing to do with humans at all. It is more like an evil demon. Interested in joining Tartaros? You are very qualified, as long as you join us, then Seilah and I belong to you. Kyoko offered to see Dieter's expression. Seilah opened her eyes wide and looked at Kyoko inside the crystal ball in disbelief, unable to believe that she would say such a thing. Ha ha ha. Dieter laughed wildly. It's such a big joke that the demon invited him to join Tartaros. It's really hard to believe. I'm not interested in demons. Brown. The palms converge again. Seilah's face in his hand was extremely ugly. At any time, he may be pinched to death in the palm of his hand because of the problem of room breathing. You kill it. Kyoko took a deep breath, staring calmly at Dieter and letting it go. Prepared for Seilah's death. Of course I want to kill. Not only I want to kill her but even you. I will personally go to Tartaros and destroy the core of hell that you can resurrect. Then I will kill all of you demons with my own hands. And finally kill Zeref. Dieter laughed. Startled again, Kyoko's face was extremely ugly. Not only do we know that the people of Tartaros are demons, but we also know that the key to our resurrection comes from the core of hell. Who are you? Are you also a demon created by Lord Zeref? Kyoko asked frantically. The secret that belongs to them is about to be finished, but she has no clue at all. I don't know where Dieter's secrets come from. The only possibility is that this person is also the same as them, also a devil. Boom. Dieter palms hard. Squeeze Seilah's head too. The body burned with raging flames, and the blood on the clothes and arms was burnt off and rejuvenated. He said disdainfully, I'm not that kind of garbage creature, so stop gossip. We'll see you later. Dieter raised his arm and hit the magic crystal. Kyoko's voice finally came. Very good, I'm waiting for you in Tartaros. I hope you really have the strength to challenge our Tartaros. Boom. The magic crystal explodes. Kyoko was also angry, especially when Dieter squeezed Seilah's head in front of him. I have already decided in my heart that when the time comes, I must let someone completely capture, CFBB, him. Let her torture herself again. To be a servant in eternal pain, torment day and night. Dieter breathed a sigh of relief. Turn around and leave the room where Tartaros was contacted, and re-enter outside. After seeing Erza and Mirajane, he reached out and rolled them up into the bedroom in the house, waiting for them to wake up. Ding. Congratulations to the master for killing the former speaker Crawford and gaining 1 skill point. Please keep on working hard. Ding. Congratulations to the master for defeating several members of the Dark Guild, obtaining a total of 9 skill points. Do you want to add points? The system assistant in my mind rang at this time. Rewards for coming here to defeat a lot of enemies with a fire fist, as well as killing former speaker Crawford, etc. are also available at any time. All add up to only 10 points, which shows that whether it is the members of the Dark Guild, or the former speaker Crawford is garbage. Far better than the reward for defeating a demon. And no matter how little is meat, add more. Dieter murmured and asked the system assistant Xiakai to help add some points. Strength feedback. The new ability has been upgraded to level 4. And the attributes that are fed back are no longer minor. There is a qualitative improvement, especially after the ability to upgrade to level 4. Dieter can now enter the dragon form. Well known, their zoological devil fruit has 3 forms. They are, human form, animal form, orc form. The human form is naturally Dieter. The animal form is the incarnation of a blue dragon, but it cannot be transformed at present. The last one is the dragon form. After the transformation, the strength will be greatly improved, but in the fairy tale world, the improvement of the dragon form is not as great as that of the dragon form. Plus that shape is kind of ugly. Dieter also directly denied it, and would not open that form casually no matter what. Xia long run or something is too embarrassing. Erza. Before Dieter could fully appreciate the power of ascension, a familiar call sounded outside the house. It was Happy and Natsu who came. Stop shouting. Dieter stepped out and waved to Natsu. Hey, Dieter, you're here too. By the way, where are Erza and Mila? The former speaker is from Tartaros. Where are they? Natsu hurried forward, probing towards the inside of the house, looking for a figure. Natsu said that Tartaros wouldn't know about Fez and the address of the former counselor if it wasn't for the tip-off from the former speaker, so the former speaker must be someone from Tartaros. Happy explained. Dieter nodded. I already know, but Erza and Milan accidentally drank sleeping pills, which will still be sleeping. I have already dealt with the former speaker. Natsu was relieved to hear that. He was really worried that Erza and Myra would be in danger. Chapter 172. take someone to the Tartaros kicking hall. Wait a minute, we'll go to Tartaros when they both wake up, Dieter said. Immediately, little stars bloomed in Natsu's eyes. He was eager to move, and he was very interested in things like kicking the gym. This slip. The fragrant tea is poured out, and Natsu and Happy sit across from Dieter. Erza and Mira Jane still have some time to wake up, so they can only drink tea and wait for the two girls to wake up. The people in Tartaros are all demons in the Book of Zeref, all very powerful, and they use conjuration, a very magical power. Dieter took this opportunity to give Natsu and Happy a brief introduction about the Tartaros members. Aliens, those who don't use magic are heretics. Magic is the core force of this world. Natsu muttered angrily. Happy is also very agreeable. Take a deep breath. Dieter ignored the words of the two, and sipped his teacup and recalled the membership structure of Tartaros. Be prepared to rank them in order to kill them. Dieter, Natsu, you are all here. Not long ago, Erza and Mira Jane woke up from the back room and were relieved to see Dieter and Natsu sitting in the hall. They were really worried about what would happen. Are you guys finally woke up? Now we can go to the gym? Natsu stood up and threw his fists into the air. Both Erza and Mira Jane looked at Dieter in confusion. Dieter said, I already know Tartaros' lair, and I'm going to the gym when you wake up. Are you going? Erza stroked her white chin, thinking we'll nod. Yes. Mira Jane refused. I won't go. Dieter gave me the address. I'll go back and contact the guild, and then we can attack together. That's it. Dieter didn't think there was any surprise. Mira Jane herself was very powerful, but she wasn't someone who liked fighting. The location of Tartaros is quite special. It is a moving island in the positive direction. It will keep moving. I can tell you a few locations. When you go back, find Levi, and she will help deduce the trajectory. Dieter said he picked up a map and simply said a few locations from memory and randomly predict a few passing locations. Okay, then be careful on the road. After taking the map, Mira Jane looked at the location on it and prepared to leave. Hey, you two. Dieter nodded, and Erza and Natsu watched Mira Jane leave, and they were ready to go. Let's go too. As Dieter said, he stretched his arms around Erza's waist and rushed out of the room. Happy. Natsu also called Happy immediately, and this side flew up and followed closely behind. The 3 and 1 cat rushed towards Tartaros' lair. Within the guild. Sorry, we went to the former speaker's house, but Erza, Myra, Natsu and Happy are no longer there. Lucy reported the situation to the president. Wendy added, but 2 bodies were found there, one of the former speaker and the other of Tartaros, and I couldn't trace them with my sense of smell. Elfman over there said, Brother Dieter arrested a Tartaros man, and then I don't know where to go, but it's probably one of the 2 bodies Wendy and Lucy saw. Listener said, Erza and Mila wouldn't be in danger if Brother Dieter went to the former speaker's side. The other members of the guild were also in trouble. The known candidates are now dead, leaving Dieter with some good news. Tartaros, is there any way to get their home base? President Makarov is in trouble. It would be great if Dieter had some clues. At this time, Mira Jane, who was fast and furious, also came back from the outside. Miss Myra. Myra is back. Are you alone? Isn't Erza with you? Everyone was in a hurry. When she saw that only Myra was alone, she hurriedly asked. Mira Jane said, Erza and I went to the house of the former speaker, but I didn't realize that the former speaker was from Tartaros, and took the opportunity to drug me and Erza into a daze. Luckily Dieter got there in time, otherwise we might have been caught by the Tartaros guys. The corpses that Lucy and Wendy saw should be the 2 people that Dieter killed, but I didn't expect that Lucy and Wendy would be a little slower to come back. After hearing Raj's explanation, everyone suddenly realized. Listener also had a lingering fear, so do we, that Tartaros's people use command spells and can control people who are weaker than her. If Brother Dieter hadn't arrived in time, we might have been arrested. For flowers. Elfman nodded. Everyone in the guild breathed a sigh of relief, and now it seems that this is all due to Dieter's help. Makarov hurriedly said, where did Myra, Dieter and Erza and Natsu go, and do you know Tartaros' address? Mira Jane nodded, reaching for the map that Dieter had given her. Put it in front of Dumby to tell. Dieter should be a clue from the hands of Tartaros. According to Dieter, Tartaros is a mobile island in the air. He gave me a track of the island's movement, which he said would allow Levi to deduce it. And Dieter took Natsu and Erza to Tartaros to play first. We can move faster and try to keep up with them. Leave it to me. I'll calculate the enemy's movement path. Levi patted the table and immediately took the map and started to check it. He sighed with emotion. No wonder Dieter went to the kicking hall first. This map was drawn too carefully, and it was impossible to judge their positions without careful inference. Everyone was surprised, waiting for more detailed clues from Levi, and Makarov continued to listen to Mira Jane explain some of what Dieter had said to her. Very good, as long as there is an address then we can lock the location and let them know the price of hurting our family. Makarov was full of joy. There's nothing wrong with Dieter and Erza's kicks. These little guys have grown up thoroughly and become the most reliable family members. Thinking of this, Makarov murmured, it's time for them to go their separate ways, just after this Tartaros is over. There are also different opinions on Dieter and others going to the gym. Among them, Gagiel was the most angry, and said angrily, damn it, the kicking hall didn't even bring me. Levi, hurry up, I want to go too. Gagey is so annoying. I'm working on it, Levi retorted, and the others were sighed. I think Data was a cute little guy back then. Not only him but Erza and Natsu were all kids. Yeah, after so many years in the blink of an eye, Data's strength is really getting stronger and stronger. Kick the gym. It's a pity that the strength doesn't allow it, otherwise I'll go too. I'm so envious of these geniuses. Their strength has improved too fast. Chapter 173, Invade the Tartaros Lair. A square mobile island, close at hand. Data took the moving island that Erza and Natsu soon saw in the distance. Is that Tartaros Lair? That's great. Happy is over. Be sure to beat them this time. Hey. Happy agreed, and a sprint dashed past Data and Erza, falling from the air and smashing the ground into the interior. The enemies who hurt Lagosas come out quickly. Natsu fell to the ground and shouted. In front of him, he happened to pass by a chubby demon monster wearing a flat helmet with armor nailed to his shoulders, with a diamond-shaped iron, and a crutch with the guild's crest in his hand. I was a little sluggish when I saw Natsu rushing in and the big hole smashed in the top of my head. In an instant, he called out, intruders. Tartaros actually has intruders. How much will it cost to repair the damaged outer wall? 857. Natsu glared at it and asked, are you the devil of Tartaros? Franmouth swept over Natsu, resting on the badge on his shoulder for a moment, and said, oh, so it's the fairy tale man? How dare you invade Tartaros? What is an invasion? We are here to kick the gym. Do you understand the kick? Data arrived late with Erza, watching the guy in front of him correct him. Kick the gym? Oops, how much will we lose by coming to the gym? How much? Franmouth said with a grin. Natsu clenched his fists and rushed forward. Rory is so noisy. Research. Wow la la. Franmouth was knocked down instantly, and his round body rolled very far. You dare to beat me? How much is this crime worth? 1,000 of your souls, bastard. Franmouth roared and stretched out his arms. In an instant, the arm suddenly became very long and grabbed towards Natsu. The body is elongated, like Daiata's ability. Natsu was surprised. Daiata cupped his forehead and complained, idiot, it's impossible to think about it. Be careful. Erza also reminded in time. Hearing this, Natsu hurriedly stopped, and after shaking his body a little, he avoided his arm's link. Just as he was about to laugh out loud, he heard Franmouth's voice, and suddenly realized that something was wrong, and his body jerked a little bit strangely. What happened? The power was taken away. Natsu's body swayed back and forth, and the frailty of his body made him feel more empty than ever. Musket. Data raised his arms. His palms curled up like a pistol. A group of flames shot out instantly at the fingertips. Monument dash. The small flame shot like a pistol bullet and hit the stretched arm in an instant. Oh! Franmouth was in pain, and the arm linked to Natsu immediately retracted, and the entire arm was retracted immediately. Nice job, Data. Natsu's strength was instantly withdrawn, and he charged out with his feet on the ground. Attack Franmouth. Fire dragons. His palms turned into claws, and he rushed in front of Franmouth and grabbed its big eyes, and the flames burst out instantly. Grip. Boom. Explosion. Remembered that Franmouth suffered to the end. Ugh! It screamed again and again, rubbed the scars on its face and roared, idiot. The price has risen to 2,000 souls. Erza was a little surprised. Squeezing his chin, being attacked by Natsu's flames at such a close distance, this guy has nothing to do. This is also the first time Erza has seen the true strength of the Tartaros members. It's so strong. Franmouth enough. At this time, a person walked up from behind, and with his appearance, the surrounding air also decreased a lot. Everyone also looked over. Looking at this person somehow made Natsu and Erza feel familiar. Here, leave it to me. You should hurry up and complete the task given to you by Lord Kyoka, Silver said. Franmouth immediately respected. Okay, Lord Yin, I'll leave it to you here. I'll complete the formalities as soon as possible. Break. Happy shivered, exhaling a breath of cold air and shivering. The surrounding temperature has dropped quite a bit. This guy looks a lot more powerful than the previous one, and it seems that he can't watch the show. Okay, it's cold, Natsu. With the advent of Silver, Erza and Natsu couldn't help but concentrate, realizing that this person might not be so easy to deal with. It's amazing. It's a bit crazy to dare to talk big and face us alone, Data said. The eyes are constantly circulating on the silver body. According to the setting of the devil in the devil fruit, the silver in front of him is likely to restrain him. Of course, Data didn't have any fear, because his strength was enough to ignore the demon slayer, but he just cared a little about this kind of person. Is it you who melted the ice in the Sun Village? Silver asked. Natsu asked warily, is it you who froze it? The atmosphere is solemn. Suddenly Yinhan smiled and scratched his head. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for being like this all the time. It seems that I had a little misunderstanding that I froze the village. Both Natsu and Erza found the man in front of him very talkative. You always smell like someone I know, Natsu muttered. Grey. Suddenly Erza spoke. When needed, Yin, who was still pleasant at first, suddenly changed his face greatly, and he reached out and froze all the people present. Don't mention the dirty name to me. Yin's tone was very cold, and his eyes did not fluctuate. Taste tilde. Peng. Dieter was also frozen, but unfortunately the ice was shattered in an instant. Yin's eyes were a little surprised, and Dieter said something different when he looked at Dieter from freezing. He was able to break his ice. This guy. Clap clap. Dieter applauds with interest. 1.1 is amazing, my lord Yin. Do you not recognize your own species? Or is it because you are controlled by others? Bright. Cold again. Silver's face was very cold, and before Dieter could finish speaking, he was frozen again. Research and hang. Dieter came out again, wiggling his neck with a dangerous smile on his face. Do you want to die? Dieter said. Yin said without showing weakness. I said, don't give me that dirty name. Listen to this. Dieter put his hand on Erza's shoulder, and the white halo penetrated into the ice crystals, thawing Erza from the frozen state. Then Natsu and Happy were unblocked in the same way. You guy. That ice is exactly the same as it was in Sun Village. Devil Slayer. Natsu and Erza were alert, with their weapons out and ready to fight. Chapter 174. Fighting hard. You guys are watching. Don't run around. It's still quite dangerous here. I'll have a good time with this guy first. Dieter stops Erza and Natsu. Stand up and move your arms. Cool. Fiery red flames and pure white halo covered both hands. The power belonging to Illusory was instantly aroused. The Overlord color entanglement is also attached to the body, and the knowledge color is open to the greatest extent. Dieter decided to go all out. Numerous abilities were released, and the entire island began to tremble. The stone bricks under Dieter's feet began to crack, and the stone bricks that split into pieces were being crushed by a terrible momentum. The walls, the ground, and the surrounding air are extremely heavy. What a terrifying aura! Silver was surprised. It was the first time he had seen such a terrifying aura, stronger than any Tartaros. This kind of person has never been known before. Fire. Flame. It looks delicious. When Natsu saw the flame in Dieter's hand, his saliva was drooling, and he rushed to eat the flame. That 25 flame was very attractive to him. Is this Dieter's true power? The air is shaking and it's hard to breathe. Erza felt a deep depression in her heart. The air seems to have become very scarce, and the beating of the heart can't help but be much heavier. Because of your status, I won't kill you, but you should fall down temporarily. Considering Silver's identity as Gray's father, Dieter didn't plan to kill him directly, but he still had to fight for skill points. There are also 2 freezes that must be done for justice. Quick. Where? Silver's eyes narrowed. This speed is simply unheard of for him. The naked eye cannot lock the target at all. Frozen. But Yin knew that he had to act, otherwise he would be at a loss. Frozen hang appears, and condenses into ice around the silver. At the same time, the human-shaped ice sculpture appeared in front of him, but the speed at which it appeared was less than a second before it shattered again. Can't cold. So strong? Silver was shocked. His hands quickly blocked him, and he knew that there was no way to resolve it in such a short period of time. Just fight hard. The body is tense, and the surging magic power wraps the body. Earthquake. Dieter punches when he sells. The white halo crashed down, hitting Yin's arms with a single blow, and the space burst. Cracks extend. Boom. The entire island shook violently. The slow-moving island exploded in an instant, and the house where Dieter and others were still in ruins. There are tens of meters of deep pits on the ground. In the middle, Dieter stared coldly at the silver under his feet, his face full of disappointment. It's so disappointing. I thought you could resist a blow from me anyway. But is that all you can do? Dieter said coldly, looking at the broken arms of Yin's feet and the body that was constantly coughing up blood and twitching. He was also speechless. One blow destroys both silver arms. The skin is open and the flesh is left, leaving the bones attached to the torso. Liu Ying's action made the vibrational force pour into his body, and even the internal organs with silver were injured to varying degrees. Cough cough. You are really amazing. You are the most cough cough, the most powerful person I have ever met. Yin had nothing to say, and he didn't expect to be crippled by this blow. It can be difficult to recover from this situation. Looking at the ruined place, I want to ask for mercy. At least I want to meet Gray. Kill. Go ahead and beat Tartaros. Kill it in. The sound of fighting in the distance sounded. It was reinforcements from Fairy Tale. You just hide. Gray will come right now. Dieter reached out and grabbed the silver, which had no resistance, and threw it towards an inconspicuous corner. Erza was surprised. This is the enemy, according to Dieter's character. He actually let him go? Silver Fullbuster, Gray's father. There's no need to kill him, just slaughter him, Dieter replied. Immediately, both Natsu and Erza were a little surprised. Glancing at Silver, he didn't say anything, even though it was Gray's father that really couldn't be killed. Begin. Go. Destroy Tartaros. Seeing that reinforcements had arrived, Dieter disappeared immediately after saying the last sentence, and went to look for other enemies. Run fast, Natsu muttered. But he didn't stop too much, turned around and rushed towards other places. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to come to the kicking hall without even seeing the enemy? Erza is a collection of people who return and guild. Ding. Defeat Tartaros. Absolute 0 silver. Reward 10 skill points. Do you want to add points? Add. Still get 10 points as usual. Dieter directly adds points. Now that the form of the blue dragon is level 5, if you defeat 5 more guys, you will be able to reach the full level, and then you will be able to turn into a blue dragon and fight with a Kaluo Nokia. Who will you meet next? Dieter kind of looks forward to his next opponents, and it would be great if all of them could come out and fight him. But it's obviously unlikely. Wow tilde. Yo. The sound of the scepter hitting the ground. In the corner in front of him, there was a demon with a staff like a tree spirit, whose guild badge was engraved on his forehead. Wearing a checkered robe, the footsteps of the young and middle-aged are the bells resounding through hell, and the radiance of magic is the breath of Venus, awakening the earth. The fairy boy who fell to the underworld, turn into bones and wander in purgatory. Dieter looked very strange. Looking at the guy who sang poetry when he appeared, he couldn't complain. This kind of person is really hard to answer. It sounds good to recite poetry. Please continue your performance. Dieter stood and patted his head for him to continue. Silence. 870 keys poetry was obviously limited, and Dieter couldn't continue to recite it at his urging. It seems that you are also exhausted. Tilde. Dieter twisted his neck and charged towards Keys. Peng. Contact with one click. Dieter's pure power slammed into Keys' staff. Bang hang. Hang 2. Broken in an instant. As a necromancer, melee combat itself is his weakness. Not to mention that with a person with super physical strength like Dieter, the staff couldn't even hold on for 3 seconds and then broke with a bang. And the unique fist continues to advance aggressively. Fist dangling on Keys' body. His body flew out in an instant. The remaining ruins were also smashed, and the rubble covered him together. There is also a lot of gravel on the flight route. Take your chance and absorb it. Sudden, an arm sticks out from the corner of the side and grabs at Dieter. Fire punch. Dieter's left fist was immediately thrown out, and the fiery flames roared towards the arm. A hit. So cool. It's so cool. The owner of the arm, Fran Wolf, rolled on the ground, trying to put out the flames of his arm bones. That's fine, I'll take care of 2 guys at once. 1-on-2 didn't give Dieter any sense of crisis. Rather more excited. The spells of these demons were too monotonous for him. Chapter 175, Defeat the Demon. One of the 4th 9 demon gates. Just a little attention is enough to destroy these demons with all your strength. Damn it, since that's the case, then I'll let you see the most powerful soul in my collection, and I'll definitely defeat you. Fran Wolf stood up angrily. The chubby body saying these vicious words simply doesn't match his body shape. Please start your show. Dieter nodded in disapproval, looked at him quietly, and went to look for that Keys. Why the guy didn't come to help. Come out, President Hades. Fran Wolf roared, his body bursting with endless light. At the moment, the strong airflow lifted the gravel on the ground. The stones in the ruins were blown violently, and a large number of stones were overwhelmed and overturned from the ground. He instantly became the president of the Grimo Ironheart Guild, Hades. And yet, Dieter asked with a raised eyebrow, it seems that you haven't experienced the horror of President Hades. Well, let me tell you ignorant and stupid humans, listen up. The president of Hades is Grimo Ironheart, the president of the most powerful dark guild. He is a genius wizard who is too addicted to the depths of darkness. 7 years ago, I accidentally got his body while searching for Mr. Zeref. Fran Wolf said eloquently, like a child showing off his toys to adults. Even Dieter couldn't help but fold his forehead as he listened. Hades is just a piece of shit, absorbing his soul. Then you're a piece of shit. What's the use of talking too much? Dieter said, clenched fists and rushed up. The feet were ejected with force. The stone bricks on the ground burst with a bang, and dust was everywhere. Dieter's figure disappeared in place. Trash? What qualifications do you have as a human to say President Hades, ignorant human? Fran Wolf nursed patient rebuttal. He also clenched his fist and rushed towards Dieter, intending to use his strength to teach Dieter a lesson. No matter what, this magic power is indeed genuine. This is the magic power of those who are close to the abyss of grinding road. Boom. Crashed. The sun and the moon are dull. The ground of the ruins exploded, and a terrifying roar like a world-destroying thunder could be heard. The power of 2 people is released. An energy explosion like an upside-down bowl rises. The gravel that overturned the earth formed a deep pit, like a pit smashed by a meteorite falling from the sky. Ouch! The strength is not bad. Dieter twisted the rear end, kicked Fran Wolf, who had become President Hades, and slammed into the ground before complimenting. There are still very few people who can punch him head-on. Even though it was just a punch of physical strength, it was enough to get his praise. You have never experienced the power of President Hades. Fran Wolf roared, and wrapped Hades' magical chains in both hands towards Dieter. The tip of the chain is even more razor-sharp. Once it is wrapped around, it will be stabbed into the body by the sharp thorns, and when it is freed, a lot of blood clots may be pulled out. End the fight. Instead of retreating, Dieter rushed forward, facing the 2 magic chains, ignoring the attack and approaching Fran Wolf. For the so-called thorns even turned a blind eye. Oops, you've been fooled. Sudden. Fran Wolf's electric attack instantly transformed into his arms. The 5 fingers of both hands are open, and the inside is concave into a claw shape. Apparently the previous magic chain was a deceptive scheme, and his real purpose was to capture Dieter and absorb his soul. In this way, you can obtain a unique full-body skill. Pity. Franmorth definitely underestimated uniqueness. When those hands touched Dieter's body, a smile on his face had already imagined the powerful power after absorbing Dieter's soul. At this time, instead of grabbing Dieter, those hands passed through him directly. Where it passes through the body is a crimson flame. Dieter elementalized. Just as he was about to be caught, Dieter's elementalization into the flames caught Franmorth empty. How is that possible? How did your body turn into flames? Why go through the body? You are not human. Franmorth yelled. It was shocking to see the hands pass through the body unimpeded. Can't believe this scene in front of me. Yes, Dieter's plan was not to fight those arms at all, but to rush straight in front of Franmorth and give him a fatal blow. Come on, Dieter murmured. Fire punch. Flames wrapped his fists, and the fiery temperature was oncoming, and Dieter threw a punch. Flames are like pillars. The boiling red flames blasted out. Burning like hellfire, it devoured Franmorth. The impact is undiminished. After submerging the enemy, it continued to move forward, and the powerful impact destroyed walls one after another. Even the non-combustible stone bricks and land were burned by flames at this moment. Ahilda. Franmorth's tragic cry. A mournful roar. Burnt to ashes with deep unwillingness and anger. Boom boom dash. The flames of destruction destroyed many houses and buildings throughout the island, and the site was full of dilapidated ruins surrounded by flames. The interior of the dilapidated island is in disarray. Destroyed buildings, rubble all over the earth, fire everywhere. Dieter kills a Tartaros member again with a mighty strike. 4. Dieter took a deep breath, and after killing Seilah, Jackal and defeating Franmorth again, there are still 5 demons left waiting for him to kill. Ding. Kill Franmorth, get 10 skill points. Whether to add points. Add. Gain skill points again, and at the same time increase the fish, fruit, blue dragon form to level 6. It also requires 40 skill points to distance from the dragon. Then who will be next? Dieter thought. Seeing and hearing were used at the same time, and instantly enveloped the island, and soon found Erza and Kyoka fighting together. Natsu once again fights the resurrected Jackal. The other members of the guild, Kianzaos, also have their own opponents, and they don't need to do anything for the time being. Wendy. After scanning everyone in the guild, I found that Wendy seemed to be gone. By the way, Wendy should be looking for Faith. There is a demon somewhere. Anyway, there is still a long time before the destruction of magic. Just wait a little longer, and go deal with the demon on Wendy's side by the way. Dieter quickly decided on his next goal. Going to grab Erza or someone else's opponent now is somewhat inappropriate. This battle itself is a battle between the guild and Tartaros. It is not suitable for him to solve all of them, so let them practice their skills. The distance is not too far, but you can rush over. I hope Wendy hasn't encountered the enemy yet, Dieter said. The body flickered instantly, and the Navy 6 form and moon step were used in combination. Quickly left the island and rushed towards Wendy's side. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, link in the description. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.